Tony Dunn, and not to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
What's up, Panther fans? Welcome to the C3 Panthers Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. The debate is heating up, folks, between who the number one quarterback that should be drafted, the number one quarterback of this class. It is a QB draft controversy, and it's among some of the greatest in history. There's been some good ones, and the Panthers will be the decider of this debate for the second time in their team history. One was with Cam Newton. They got it right there. Will they get it right as Bryce Young's stock has continued to soar? At least the money is moving his way. Is CJ Stroud being slandered? We've got that. We've got a bunch of new news for the Carolina Panthers going forward. We've got people talking about who the best Panther players are of all time. Twitter has been going nutso. But even cooler than that, guys, we've got David Gettis coming on the show tonight, former Carolina Panther wide receiver, quality control coach for wide receivers, currently for Syracuse right now. And Cody, you can then ACC team. So Cody, that's all up your lane. We're going to get some
ACC, baby.
A cool walk down memory lane, and really kind of very fitting because Gettis, Coach Gettis, David Gettis, if we were to just refer to him as we referred to him when he was playing, was on the team and had that year and that season for him, that career year for him, the year before the Carolina Panthers went and drafted their next quarterback. So kind of can give us some insight into the change of maybe how it is for a coaching staff to come in, what players are facing as they go into the draft, leave the combine, and how it is to kind of fight for a roster spot, deal with adversity of injury and some different things, and who the heck, maybe we'll get his insight on to, is Bryce Young too short? Maybe we'll see. We got a lot to talk about. The number's 252-228-5098. That's right, 252-228-5098. Getting to the chat. We'll feature your calls in hour number 2. Cody Lashney, my wheelman, welcome back to the C3 Panthers Podcast.
Tony Dunn, you already know. There's nowhere I'd rather be on a Tuesday night than sitting here with my boys, chilling, talking about these Carolina Panthers, man. Bryce Young every day is starting to look more and more like a shoo-in. I feel like CJ Stroud is already being unfairly slandered. And boy, let me tell you, I'm going to go off when we talk about that tonight. So be prepared for that. We're going to talk about the inside linebacker position tonight. That's been a heavy focus on Panthers Twitter. But Tony Dunn, you already know that we're going to do this with the best damn Panther fans in all of YouTube. And the list gets longer every Tuesday. You know them and love them. It's 910 Panther fan, C3 Panther Pickle. What's up, Drew, AJ Lindsay, Algernon Ramseur, C3D's Ill Skills, Craig Cartner, CJA, Evan Sports Talk, James Island Panther, Josh, Just Don't Care, Panthers 910, Smells Like Blue, Sideshow, The Cardiac Cat 13, Underground West, The Real AP, and that boy, White Chocolate Espresso. Tony Dunn, ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
Don't forget, you could be a C3 super fan for just $1.99 a month. Continue to help grow the program like Cody has been doing, putting out film reviews, gets you a lot of perks, but also just helps us continue expand coverage. Shout out to all those Panther fans on the way to Indianapolis in a couple of weeks. We got some goodies for you. We're working on those cards for you right now. White Chocolate Espresso and CK, the voice that makes them moist. The baby is on the way, but man, you made time to hang out with us, man. Thanks for coming back.
Yeah, just got off of shooting, going and to the links and playing 9 holes. So I'm, super busy right now.
Yeah, way to support mom.
Right. I'm happy to be here, man. It's Tuesday night. Always good to be here with the fellas and the ladies in chat. And obviously nice to have a special guest with us tonight. So that's going to be good.
Yeah, don't forget, guys, just a few minutes. We'll catch up with David Gettis, former Carolina Panthers wide receiver, fan favorite, dude. One of the things is this is one of those players. I wish that if we would have had fantasy football, like those keeper leagues like we're in now, like I have these leagues that I'm in, and like the only way you can win them in these super deep leagues is to get like a gem at some point. This was the guy that we were all hoping to stash away. Man, Cody, I got one question for you. I sent you his stats. Cody's the youngin of the bunch, Greg.
Oh, I know.
6'3", ran the 40, and 4.44 is what the one combine I wrote. The pro day 4.39. I'm thinking right now, this would be the name that would probably go number one in this class at this point. This class is kind of I'm flashy as some of the ones in the past.
I'm such a youngin at 33 years old. Yeah, I'm just a baby out here in these streets. But by the way, Tony, before we go any further, I have to give some credit to one of the new patron saints of the C3 Panthers podcast, man, because Just Don't Care hit the chat with another 5 gifted memberships, man, to Tim Estes, Sideshow, Cardiac Cat 13, and Underground West, and your boy White Chocolate Espresso, man. So, hey, man, Just Don't Care. You are the man, brother. We love you over here at C3, man. And by the way, for only $1.99 a month, you get first access to these film room reviews that we've been doing. It'll go up live on YouTube the week after, but it goes up first to all of our super fans. And we're doing a lot of film rooms on CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, and people really love that one that we did with Big John of One Carolina so much. We might even do some for Anthony Richardson. Be on the lookout for that. Hit that like and subscribe. Back to you, Tony.
All right, Greg, welcome back to the show, man. I hope everything is well with your family. Thanks for being a part of the podcast. How you doing, man?
Doing fantastic, man. Of course, thank you for having me. And look, I got to tell you, man, what I'm most excited about right now, and I'm going to go ahead and describe this as my randoms. What I would say is randoms.
All right.
Is Panther fans who are just now hearing news about Carolina Panthers off-season trade acquisitions and moves and starting to get excited. We've been excited the whole time, but I know people at work that are just hearing about this stuff. Scott Van Pelt says that Carolina is an under-the-radar team to look out for. I haven't heard anybody talking about Carolina with the moves we made, but I think we have done an amazing job this offseason, and I'm hearing a lot of what I would call randoms, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Any fan is a good fan. If you're only a fan when we're doing well, or you hear mainstream news, that's cool. I'm cool with that. I love fans. But what I would call randoms are talking to me now and talking about how great they hear the Carolina Panthers flying under the radar. And that's what I'm most excited about right now, to be honest with you.
Yeah, man, new era. Always excitement, a lot of buzz here. Don't forget we're having our 10th live draft party. We've been doing watch-alongs before watch-alongs were a thing. Oh, yeah. Again, we've stumbled into this, Cody. Why don't we stumble or run into segment 1? Let's bring in Coach David Gettis to the C3 Panthers podcast. Hey, Coach.
How you guys doing?
Excellent, man. Welcome to the show, man. Again, we were talking a little bit beforehand, and we just wanted to, thank you for your time. Just tell us a little bit about where you're at right now.
Yeah, so I'm in Syracuse, New York. So part of the coaching staff here with the Orangemen, ACC. So I heard we had one fan. So we're just getting through with spring ball right now. Got about a week and a half left, and onwards and upwards to start the 23-24 season.
Wonderful stuff. You're quality control coach for the wide receivers, and you've been now in coaching since I read since like 2015.
Like 2016, 2015.
2016.
So yeah, I went back to school, finished, got my degree, started grad school, and then got into that line of work essentially. So yeah, it's been a journey for sure.
That's great stuff. You were drafted in 2010, and then you go to the Carolina Panthers, and it's like it probably was. Let me ask you this: it must have been a difficult experience being a rookie on that team. Is that because that was, I think it was 6 games before you got to win, 5 or 6 games for the win, and then
right.
felt like the coaches, the writing was on the wall that it was time for a new, kind of a different direction, or at least it got that way at some point.
Well,
How
I
was
wouldn't
it
say
becoming a rookie?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was difficult for me. I would say it was a new experience. So for me personally, the journey of learning how to win in the NFL, being a part of it and having a seat at the table, if you will, that was it was something that I really liked because I was able to actually partake in, helping a team win games and trying my best and going out there. And I wasn't just a fan. I wasn't just watching. I was actually out there on the field doing it. So, yeah, some of those results that we had, I mean, if you remember, it's a long time ago, so a lot of these fans probably don't remember that. But a lot of those games came down to the wire. I mean, and we're losing
Fighting.
games at the very end. And, finally, when we got that first win, it felt so great because, you had to work really hard to get it. And that's what makes this league, in my opinion, unlike other ones, because, I mean, every team that goes out there on Sunday has a chance to win. I don't necessarily think you can say that about, other professional leagues where, on any given day, any given game day, any given team, the worst team in the league can beat the best team in the league. Doesn't matter. It's all about matchups. It's all about, how prepared you are that week for that opponent. But yeah, I mean, it was amazing for me, and then of course it was my first year, so everything was it was a new, and it was definitely a learning experience that I'll always remember.
Well, when you talk about contributing to the first win, that was your best game of your career, the best game a receiver had in that season. If I remember right, you were 9 for 125 yards and 2 touchdowns against the San Francisco 49ers.
Right. Yeah. Go ahead.
Not a bad game.
Not a bad game at all, for sure. That was probably my biggest game ever on any level, high school or Pop Warner even, like
right.
So and for it to be a win, that's probably the biggest thing because that's what it's all about, and getting to celebrate that with your teammates. So yeah, that's the goal, man. Like everyone wants to go in and help, and I'm not gonna speak for everyone, but I know for sure me. My whole thought process was I just want to go and I want to help the team as any way I can, whether that was, run vertically and get other people open or run block or whatever it was, that's what I wanted to do. And I was able to do that and, have some success and put some stats in the career, stat books. But, overall, man, it's all about getting those wins in the win column. So anytime you get a chance to do that.
You were brand new, I mean, to the pro game that season, and you're watching a team that's, not getting the results. I'm sure you guys are going out there. I mean, we know you guys are going out there fighting hard, but not getting the results that are, people want, and ultimately this leads to Carolina Panthers bringing in Ron Rivera and securing the #1 pick with Cam Newton. How was it going through like a regime change as a player, and was there some anxiety around that, some nervousness, and then we'll talk about some of the challenges you face going forward after that.
Right. Well, yeah, for sure. There's some anxiety that goes into it because you really just came down to getting comfortable with the coaches that gave you the first opportunity. They drafted you, they put you on the field, they put you in a situation where you can prove yourself, and now it all comes full circle and you have to do it all over again. Now, luckily for me, it was only 1 year removed. So at the end of the day, it wasn't really that too far-fetched for me to get back into that mode and, just go out there and give it my best and understand that there's a new coaching staff. There's a new receiver coach. There's a new everything, new offensive coordinator, new system, new playbook, and all these things that go into it. And you have to learn all these new things. And you're also trying to impress with every single thing you do.
Yeah.
You're trying to show these guys that you're fully capable of going out there on the field and contributing and doing your job. So
they have to get to know you. You're hoping that they kind of fall in love with you in a certain way.
Exactly. That's what it's all about. And at the end of the day, sometimes I don't think we all realize this. They gotta like you. Like, just because you can be really good. There's some really, really talented players that play on Sundays or that are on teams that don't play. And that's because they're not likable guys. And the coaches don't like you. They're human beings. They have egos too. And sometimes they'll find a way not to play you, or they'll, do things to make you kind of sabotage yourself and demand a trade maybe and get out of there. And they're happy because they don't want you there in the first place. Like, so yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's a huge component to it. Like just being likable and being a genuine good person. And these are grown men, but these are men. These are just like you are. So, having those relationships there, but then being able to do your job, I think is obviously the most important thing. So yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it does. It kind of brings you to the idea. I mean, when you're their guy, you know what I'm saying, is like, with that. And I'm kind of wondering, I think of this as kind of, in some ways, your play style, I felt like, as Terrace Marshall Jr. is now that guy for the Carolina Panthers.
Sure.
Is that how does he fit up with the previous regime? You saw Matt Rule when he came to Carolina kind of just cast off trying a slow exodus of players that weren't his, and he brings in and sticks and holds on to players too that become his, right? So that relationship component is a big part of it. Greg, I'm gonna give you the mic. This is kind of a fun question. Or for me, it's fun. I go on this radio show, and sometimes we do this bit on Fridays where it's like, who's a player you would want to be your roommate? Who is a player that you would want to have get in a fight? Well, like have your back when you get in a fight. I always said this is that I think that the hardest person to live with would probably be Steve Smith. Like, I would kind of live in a little terror, like, who ate my cheese nips? Who ate my cheese nips? Or who drank the milk? How was Steve Smith that year where everything was, boy, he could not have been happy in 2010.
He wasn't, but that's funny because he was my roommate on the road.
You didn't eat his cheese nips, did you?
And the funny thing is, he's a vet. He's a future Hall of Famer. He doesn't have to have a roommate, but he let me become his roommate, and we would talk. And I mean, he didn't have to do any of this, but he would talk to me about, playing on Sundays and what my mindset should be and the approach throughout the week. And as a coach now, some of those conversations we had on Saturday nights in the hotel, like before the games, or some of the things that I'll remember and I'll hold dear, some like the most. Like, we talk about the experience, the NFL experience, and even though mine was short and things happened, injuries happened, and I wasn't able to fulfill it to the fullest. But some of those moments were some of the greatest I've ever had because I got to sit there and have intimate conversations with a future Hall of Famer.
Yeah, the GOAT.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and
Triple Crown, the whole deal.
And he's that guy. He's that dude. He talk about who's him. He's him. You know what I'm saying? Like, so So you're talking about somebody who you wouldn't. He was somebody that I would. Like, absolutely. And then the fighting one, obviously, he's number one. Like,
totally. You definitely. There's a lot of people been on the wrong side of that. All right, Greg, mic's yours.
Yeah, man. Coach Gettis, what's up, man? Greg,
going
I just wanted to say it's great to have you on, and it's great to talk to you. And I just wanted to ask you, we're talking about a lot of personal level things here as far as NFL players go. I want to know what the draft process is for a player coming out of college, preparing for the draft, expectations, the way things fall. Like, how vulnerable are you in that point? Like, when you go to the combine, when you do all these things, like, what is your, like, where's your mindset? Like this is kind of a make or break moment for you up to this point in your career and your life.
Well, yeah, absolutely. So the stress is definitely at a high level, for sure. So if you're talking particularly with the combine, I mean, oh my gosh, like, soon as you get there, as soon as you land in Indy, I mean, you're basically being my agent. The way he kind of explained it to me is like, literally everything that you do is going to get judged throughout the process. How you eat your food, how you order, like when you go out and you're having these meetings, they're seeing how, like, okay, well, how does he interact with people? When he orders food, what is is he strong enough? Does he voice his opinion strong enough to where people know exactly what he wants? Is he a good communicator? Like, every little thing they're honing in on, and they're using that to separate you from the next person. You know what I'm saying? On top of all the stuff, the physical stuff, as far as the testing and then the stuff that goes with each position group and things like that. But yeah, I mean, 100% throughout the whole process, every single meeting, every single phone call, every single personal workout, every single thing that you do throughout that whole process, the bowl games that you do, like the Senior Bowl and all that stuff like that, it's literally someone judging you to
Right.
see if you're good enough.
Mhm.
And
You're pretty vulnerable at that point.
obviously that's pressure. I mean, can
Yeah.
you imagine something like that? So I mean, we've all been on job interviews, right?
Mhm.
But it's a job interview that it fixates on so many different levels of who you are, your personality, and then to go along with your skill level and where you're at mentally and your ability to do a job, and that's play on football on Sundays.
I've heard stories of them like planting people in the elevator, and it's like, they're watching you when you're not. Like, it's
Right.
like, oh.
And I wouldn't put it past them because
Yeah.
there's a lot of money that are going into you making the right decision. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're putting
Jobs.
a lot of your fan
Jobs.
base's, hopes and dreams on deciding who's going to be able to, go out there and perform for you. So I wouldn't put it past them to do something like that.
Well, look, I'm a vet, so I'd gone through basic training, and I honestly, I'm kind of trying to compare it to that, to be honest with you. But I'm looking at it in the mindset of in basic training, they're looking at the same kind of way people they can separate from others. They're going to invest thousands of dollars into, whereas in your mind, they're investing millions of dollars into.
Sure.
So I can only imagine how much more ratcheted up that is and how intense that is.
Yeah.
But what about the draft as well? How much anxiety does that bring to you? Like draft.
Yeah. And when
days?
did you know you were getting drafted by Carolina?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So my draft experience, I was a 6th rounder. So, I wasn't the guy I was getting the.
You guys matter too.
Yeah, I wasn't going out on day one. I watched the draft day one, and then I did not watch the draft at all. Like, so day 2, day 3, I didn't watch the draft. So I remember I remember I was out with my dad and my sister, and we were I think we went to the movies or something like that. I just came home from training. I got done. I wanted to relax. I didn't want to stress about any of that stuff. So we're at the movies, and I remember getting a phone call and it's a telephone number that I didn't recognize. So obviously I picked it up because I understood, what's going on, and it was the Buffalo Bills. And the Buffalo Bills called me, and the coach was like, "Hey, we're about to draft you. Just letting you know. Really excited about the opportunity. So just let you know when this pick comes up, you're going to be a Buffalo Bill." And I'm like, "All right, cool. This is awesome." So throughout that whole, I told my dad, I'm like, "All right, cool. I guess, Buffalo, get ready for the snow and, whatever.
Right.
And then the pick before was Carolina, and Carolina picks me. So
Wow. Oh,
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
Yeah.
I had 0 meetings, 0 conversations, didn't work out for anyone in Carolina, never talked to anyone in Carolina, knew nothing about, the organization other than being a fan of Steve Smith because he's from LA and I'm from LA. So, but yeah, like literally it just happened just like that. And then like John Fox called, and then that was it, and then, all right, here we go. Like started talking about coming out to Charlotte now.
Wow.
That's awesome. That's
That
a
is
great
awesome.
story, man.
Yeah.
So, David, again, my name's Cody. But thanks you so much for having you on the show tonight, man. This has been some really insightful stuff. Listen, if you've been looking at the comments, man, you know that there is a lot of discussion around this number 1 overall pick for the Panthers, man. This is such an exciting time for us. There's a buzz amongst the fandom that we haven't felt in such a long time. I mean, literally since Cam Newton was here playing quarterback for us.
Absolutely.
So, instead of directly asking who you like more, Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, which, by the way, you're more than welcome to answer if you'd like to. But my question more specifically is, to you as a wide receiver, what are some traits that you're looking for in a young quarterback that's going to be throwing you the football? What are some of the traits and abilities and skill set that you think that the Carolina Panthers should be prioritizing right now as they do look for their signal caller of the future?
Right. Well, I think the number one thing is accuracy for sure. The number one thing is accuracy, and then you want to look at strength, being able to, can he touch? How far out can he touch with his arm? So accuracy and strength, or arm strength, are the 2 biggest things in my opinion. That you're looking for. And and when it comes to the NFL, like guys like, Josh Allen, who had that arm strength initially,
right,
but then the accuracy came afterwards. Now he is, up there. We put him in the top 3 conversation of NFL quarterbacks. So going forward, it's got to be a guy that can do that, because as far as the accuracy goes, the coverage that you're going to be facing in the NFL compared to college, where a wide open could be, 3 to 4 yards open. Now you're going up against some really good corners. That wide open now is 2 yards, so even a yard and a half, and you still got to be able to fit that ball in between sometimes tight windows where linebackers and safeties are, and you got to put it in there sometimes before a corner can even turn his head and look. So I think that's probably one of the most important things, two of the most important things, as far as being able to be a successful quarterback and what you're looking for in a quarterback from the receiver's perspective.
Okay. CK, jump in there, man.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you a question that we asked Jonathan Stewart. The context is going to be a little different because he was on in the middle of the season, right when Steve Wilkes was taking over, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And at that time, Steve Smith had talked about on his podcast about there was somebody in the Panthers organization that had asked for a trade. So my question was, or that had asked him about requesting a trade, I should state.
Okay.
And so I asked Jonathan Stewart, having gone through exactly what you went through in 2010, when you see the trajectory of the team going in that direction, is there any part of you that looks at that as I'm going to ask to go to another team, or is it I want to be here and help build it back up? Like, what is the thought process going through your mind? I know you don't have a lot of leverage as a rookie in that year, but I mean, is there any part of your brain that goes, let's get out of Carolina, this is a sinking ship, or is there really just a we need to stay and fight and build this up the right way?
Yeah, I was all about, you believed in me, so I'm gonna do everything I can for you. And that was my thought process. And I bought in. So you brought me into your team, you brought me into your organization, you gave me a chance. And it doesn't matter how rough it is or how rough we're going. At the end of the day, I'm gonna do everything I can to get us to where we want to go. And I think that's really pretty much when you're building a team, you want to build a team with majority of the guys believing in that more so than I'm going out here and I want to do the best for myself. And if that includes me not being a part of this team, then so be it. So I think I was fortunate. I don't think I'm naive to say that I was a part of a team that I genuinely believe that everyone wanted to be a part of turning it around. And, even through, the rough years, that next year when Cam came and kind of rejuvenated that he rejuvenated that team and brought a certain energy that he had that I don't think the league has ever seen. When he came, do you remember the buzz that was around the league when Cam came?
Oh, we did.
Yeah, but I remember that day. The minute he came onto the team, first team meeting, like you just felt like this energy, like, oh yeah, we have a chance. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we have a legit chance to turn the table.
Tell him the story, Cody, real quick.
Oh, dude, Tony came. So I live right by South Mint Street. I live so close to Bank of America Stadium. And Tony came to my house. He's getting ready to go to the game. And I asked Tony, who do you think's going to win? And we both pretty much felt the same way. Because we have Cam Newton, we know we have a chance. And that's how you always felt with Super Cam, man. He was going to put his body, his everything on the line to do everything he could to get the Panthers a W on that day. And man, he's my reason for being a Panthers fan. I love that dude.
How big was his? Like you said, you felt the energy.
Mm-hmm.
Was he just a big personality walking into that, and not like in
distraction?
Not like that, but like it almost feels like
he was never a distraction. He was never a distraction.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
but it just seems like he's like a guy that it's like you command it's like we can't help but go, oh God, it's Ace Boogie, baby. It just there's a presence to him, I feel like.
Okay, so this is how I like to explain it, right? So we have like on one spectrum from people outside looking in, they look at Cam Newton, they think cocky, right? And I hate that word, especially when it comes to relating with Cam, right? When I look at him, I say swagger. Now, what's the difference between swagger and cockiness? Swagger is earned. Swagger is earned by you putting in the work, and then you get confidence with the fact that you put in so much work, and then that precedes that you are walking around with an aura because you're so confident that you can get the job done at any point at any time. right?
Okay.
So the difference between me, saying someone who's just out there and they're cocky, they're like some first round pick guy who thinks the world is his, and I'm making whatever, and I'm here, and this is the world. The NFL belongs to me. Compared to a guy like him, who from day one, all he did was work, grind, film room. We all saw the behind the scenes stuff with Luke Kuechly and him watching film. That was him from day one, like rookie Cam Newton. Like that's literally day one. What he did with his body, how he kept in shape, like all the stuff that he did, even in the off season, he wasn't a guy like he would go out, but he would just like go out just to be with guys. But he would never like he wasn't drinking, he wasn't smoking, he wasn't doing anything like that. Like he was a guy who genuinely everything he did was about
football.
being the best quarterback he can possibly be and helping the team win. So
there's so many players that we've talked to on this show, but we've been doing this, like you said, we watched the Carolina Panthers, the discussion out there with like a microscope.
Mhm.
And I challenge anybody to find one player that's played with Cam Newton that's had anything negative to say about him. Really, it's like I mean, it's that is just another story of consistency about him, and that's just it's awesome to hear about that presence and, like you said, swagger. That's confidence. There's a difference between arrogance and confidence, right? And you want your quarterback to be confident. You don't want them to not pull the trigger. We've seen players. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but ones that don't want to throw the ball past the 5 yards. There is a kind of a fear. You don't want to live in fear, and Cam never has. I wonder why. CK, you had a follow-up with a question.
Yeah. It's just with regard to the question about Steve Smith believing or saying that somebody was about to ask for a trade or asked him about their opinion. There's a lot of speculation that was DJ Moore.
Mm-hmm.
And so that brings me to the question about DJ Moore. I don't know how we have a former wide receiver, and we haven't even talked about the fact that DJ Moore was traded. And so when you look at the moves the Panthers have made, adding Adam Thielen, DJ Chark, do you find the loss of DJ Moore kind of a balancing act with what we've done, or do you feel like we're still somewhat in the negative losing a guy like DJ Moore?
Well, I mean this wholeheartedly. Before I knew I was coming on this show and non-biased, Adam Thielen is one of my favorite receivers in the NFL. And
nice.
It's because he's one of my everyone has their top 10, but I put him just outside of my top 10. But really, like he's literally one of the guys that I show the young receivers that we have here at Syracuse. I try to show him like his tape, because you don't necessarily have to be a 4-4 guy in order to have success in the NFL. In my opinion, the NFL, you're either a freak athlete, right, or you're either a technician. You got to fit in one of those realms. You got to be a freak athlete or you're a technician. And you're really good if you're both, right?
Right.
So he's definitely a technician at what he does. And he finds a way to consistently create separation, which is the number one thing for a receiver, in my opinion, is your ability to create separation and get open and catch the ball. And his ability to do that is up there. And he's earned that, and he's made life easy for Stephon Diggs in Minnesota and for young Jefferson in Minnesota, because you can't necessarily double team one of those receivers when you have Adam Thielen on the other side, right? So to answer your question, bring in Adam Thielen and DJ Chark, who's hungry to kind of get back to where he was when he was with Jacksonville.
Net positive.
Ago, right?
Yeah.
Was that 2 seasons ago?
Yeah.
When he kind of went off for 1,000 plus, I think. I love DJ Moore's game, but that's two. You got 2 for 1. Like you're
and
the
number one draft
quarterback.
Pick,
right?
Yeah. So
and now you get to give your you have an opportunity to give your number one quarterback, whoever it may be. And I know we're going to discuss some of that stuff later, but whoever you guys decide to choose, you're giving them a veteran receiver to throw to, not like the guy who's figuring it out. He understands the game.
Yeah, and to just say that, like, the poetic aspect of this, and it's so bittersweet because we've been waiting to find a quarterback to get DJ Moore the ball, and it's DJ Moore that's going to allow us to get that quarterback. It's just
without DJ Moore.
The ball.
Irony.
So it's irony, but it's bittersweet, and it's just this wild circle. I'm sure he's going to have wild success up there with Justin Fields. I hope Fields can take it to the next level. But I appreciate you answering the question. I'll let Cody take it from here.
Yeah, David. So listen, with this number 1 overall pick, Panther Nation is torn down the center. We are a Panther Nation divided right now, man, because Bryce Young and CJ Stroud is a never-ending debate
It's
amongst
exhausting.
Carolina Panther fans. And there's still so long to the draft. We have been having this ever since the Panthers traded up to number 1. It feels like it's never going to end. We would be remiss if we didn't ask you if you had an opinion on who you think the Panthers, well, 1, who you think they should draft, and number 2, do you have any inclination on who you think they actually will draft come April 27th?
Right. I mean, it's just so tough. The only thing different, if you look at their stats and what they've done in college,
yeah,
and what they bring to the table with this pre-draft process. I mean, the only difference is one's taller than the other one. You know what I mean? Like, in my opinion, like you look at their stats. I mean, they're both throwing the ball high 60%. You know, they've both thrown for over 8,000 yards in their careers, 80 plus touchdowns, and I think they both threw like 12 interceptions in their entire career. So, I mean, look at the stats are like right there. Like, so it's Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Like, you know, which one do you prefer? Like, I don't know. Usually you will have something like, all right, well, this guy, you know, he's really athletic and he uses his legs more. And this guy is really good with his arm, but he's not athletic. I mean, they both are, I mean, comparable to the T. One's just taller than the other one. So it's one of those random occurrences where I feel like you can't go wrong with either one. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you know, like
there's a third subset of Panther fans that are just like, dude, I'm happy with whoever it is. Just get it over with already.
Yeah.
Let us know who the actual quarterback is. When it comes to Bryce Young, my question though is, I feel like people necessarily aren't too scared about the height. It's more so him being around 190 pounds. And there's this fear that, you know, look, he's going to be the smallest quarterback in the NFL the moment that he's drafted. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like any team is right for having some kind of hesitancy about whether or not his body and frame is going to be able to withstand an NFL schedule?
Right. So the way I look at it, right, he played in the SEC, right?
Sure did. Yep. Alabama.
They got a lot of freaks. We talk about freaks and technicians. They got a lot of freaks running around the SEC.
Yep.
And he survived the SEC. I don't remember him having too many injury problems. The one I do remember, he had like a shoulder, right? Like, and it was
yeah. And he didn't even take a hit. He was going out of bounds and landed on his elbow.
It was a freak accident, right? Play the game of football. It's all about collisions and you know, it's a freak accidents. Freak accidents happen. So with that being said, not only did he succeed, not only did he survive, but he thrived in the SEC with his size and his weight. I get the NFL is a different level, and now you're playing the best against the best against the best on a weekly basis. But he's physically shown that he's more than capable of producing at a high level against bigger guys, to say the least, right? So I don't necessarily look at it like as a problem. You know, people bashed Drew Brees for being, you know, 6'1", and he's shorter than 6'3" or 6'4". He's shorter than prototype. You know, what we're used to. We're used to the guys looking like this, and this, and he doesn't look like this. He's different, and all he did was become a Hall of Famer, right? Mm-hmm. We looked at guys like Russell Wilson and all these people that are. I mean, Cam Newton. People looked at him and said he's not a prototype quarterback, and he doesn't have the mechanics and all these things like that. And all he went out there is lead a team to a Super Bowl, win an MVP, and consistently prove doubters wrong. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, you got to look at what they're able to do and what they've done. And he's proven over time and time again that he can last in the league where there are guys that are going to play. He's playing against NFL talent every single game he plays. You know, there's guys that are getting drafted in the first round of this draft. You know what I'm saying? So He's fine, in my opinion. He's
I
fine.
think the concern, though, I mean, I don't know if it's you just have to talk about it. Like, that's what I tell people is
Sure.
me saying that we need to talk about how his size is going to translate to the NFL game shouldn't be necessarily received as a negative. But the Bryce Young people, they get so defensive. They get really defensive about this. And people are now on the internet is going, how tall are you? Because then it's like, are you short? I'm 5'9" 3/4. So I sympathize with the man. I'm just saying this, at some point, the hit, it's not about the hit that you see coming.
Yeah.
You know, it's the one that we're going to need you to step up in the pocket and make a throw one day where nobody wants to see the outcome afterwards.
Right.
And I'm really kind of more concerned that he's just going to end up like in the third row of the stands.
Right.
Well,
but he's not, I mean, like you said, he's survived to this point so far. But his frame definitely isn't one that's going to get bigger, though.
Mhm.
He is, it's not, at least that's what the scouting reporters say. It is like it's not like he's got a man body to still grow into. It's that he's always going to be an undersized guy in this league. What about, is Stroud, is the processing level. This is what everybody tells us about Young. It's his processing is like unheard of. Like you get Nick Saban going out there saying, I've never worked with a quarterback that reads defenses like this. He's looking at tape before the coaches are. And people are saying they're convinced he throws the ball to a spot. He doesn't even see what's going on and things like this.
Mm-hmm.
Is the drop off though for Stroud that far behind him on that? And I just don't feel like it is. I feel like he's out there looking to his second and third reads. I don't know. Who would you pick?
Oh, don't do that to me.
Okay, well, you don't got to answer it. You don't got to answer it.
I got a question I can actually add on to that right there to
Okay.
maybe to give my opinion on what I would pick. And I wanted to ask you as a player, especially.
Mhm.
Okay, so we're talking about this with CJ Young, or CJ Young, Bryce Young, and CJ Stroud. And we talk about how he's playing against pro level type players. So I wanted to ask you on the backside the difference between you and the Baylor, right?
Yes.
The difference between the college level and the pro level,
Right?
Was it what you expected? And then I wanted to also talk about how while we say he's playing against the best players, every team he's playing against is not NFL level talent, but he is every game playing with the best in the league type talent as far as offensive linemen, defense, wide receivers, whereas he's not going to get that in the NFL, which bothers me. We talk about Drew Brees. We talk about players like Drew Brees and Russell Wilson, which are fantastic players, but I feel like they're kind of anomalies when it comes to short players, because I can look at Bryce Young's best year and compare it to Baker Mayfield's best year, and they're almost identical. And Baker Mayfield's 2 inches shorter, and we saw what happened with him. That's my only concern. I'm not saying Bryce Young's going to be bad, but those are things I look into with this. So I feel like I can teach CJ Stroud to maybe be more cerebral, smarter in the game. I can't make Bryce Young get taller. That's my only concern with it.
And you're entitled to that. And you're the GM of whatever team, and that's how you feel, and you can base your pick off of that. And this is the one draft, in my opinion, where if you decided to make your decision off of that, you wouldn't be wrong.
Right.
You know, I feel like if you're in the top two, you're in the top two, if you're walking away feeling really good about yourself. Like you're walking away like, I got something to work. I literally have something to work with. I have something to build my franchise around.
You won't answer the who you would pick, but where would we go wrong?
The guy that eats banana pills.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, that's not. Yeah.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't do that. No, I wouldn't do that.
That's a red flag. If you eat the banana peel, that's a red flag.
Right.
Oh, and I heard about that. No, I mean, hey, to each his own. I personally wouldn't do that, but yeah, as far as like picking inside the top two, I wouldn't.
So
Okay.
it's Young and
it's either CJ or Bryce, in my opinion.
Okay.
Either one of them is a winner.
There's
Okay.
two people. There's only two
Yeah.
people that exist in that draft as far as
I can behind you there.
Well, can I ask you about the first part of that question then, as far as from the college level to the pro level?
Yeah.
What you were expecting and what you actually got. Was it what you expected? Was it way faster than you thought it was going to be? Like, what's the difference between the two levels?
100%. It's all about speed. And I'm a fast guy, so I'm used to, like, I played in the Big 12, and the Big 12 is a fast league, fast conference.
4-4-2, right?
And at Baylor, we were one of the faster teams every Saturday we lined up. So going into the league, I was always kind of like, I always anticipated being able to go out there and, like, hey, I'm gonna go out here and I'm gonna run by people whenever I want to, and that's my thing. That's why I'm here. And I remember distinctly, like, my first practice. I remember this, like, to this day. Like, my first practice, as a rookie, barely get reps. So, I remember that first time I got reps, and I got a rep with the ones. And I was very excited, and I was like, all right, cool, here we go. So I got in there, and they told me to run a simple seam go route from the slot receiver position. So, all right, cool, this is going to be open. So I saw it was cover two. So cover two, safety's widen. The whole middle of the field is wide open. I'm like, I'm about to score a touchdown on my first rep in my first practice. This is it. This isn't happening. This isn't life.
To the moon, baby.
Oh my God. So pre-snap, I see it. I see it. I know, like, oh my gosh, I'm about to score. Lo and behold, John Beeson. I don't know if John Beeson.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
He's the Tampa 2 Mike. And his responsibility is to make sure he carries anybody going up the middle of the field. He's running stride for stride with me. And I'm looking at him like, how are you doing this? Like, I just remember running and, like, how are you still here? Like, and the quarterback ended up, I'm a rookie. He's not going to throw the ball to me. Like, he didn't throw the ball to me, whoever it was. I forgot the quarterback was at the time. And I just remember, like, coming back to the huddle, like, oh my God, like, this is the league. We have middle linebackers that can run stride for stride with me. Like, what am I going to do? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but that just comes with understanding, like, the league, it'll never be as physical from like, guys will never be as big and as strong, in my opinion, than they are in college. Because when you get to the NFL, sometimes you see guys, like, they trim down because they understand that they have to be able to run fast. Like, you know what I'm saying? You have to be able to be fast. It's all about speed. If you can't run in the NFL, you're no good to your team. Like, the old days of being the big guy that could just really hit, you can hit everything in a phone book, them days are gone. Like, that's not what the league is about. It's all about being able to run sideline to sideline. You know what I'm saying? And then if you can obviously be physical and be violent at the same time, Luke Kuechly, then you'll be a Hall of Famer.
Right.
Yeah.
The name of the game is speed. You got to be able to run. So that's the biggest difference, in my opinion, from college to the NFL, is the speed of the game.
David, did you have a welcome? So, I mean, you mentioned that in practice, and that's a great story. Did you have a welcome to the NFL moment that happened during the game where it was like, whoa, man, like you'll just never forget for the rest of your life a certain play? I mean, it could be good or bad, like just a certain play that you'll never forget.
Well, I'll give you something better. It's a funny one, right? So, my rookie year, the first game we played the Giants, and I didn't even dress. I was on the sideline. So then the second game, I ended up starting. So I started, and we played Tampa Bay. So this is a Tampa Bay team. They have Rondé Barber, and they have Aqib Talib, I think, and they have some other good guys. So I remember I'm getting ready for the pregame stuff, and I'm going up there warming up. And Rondé Barber comes up to me, and he says, I hear you're going to start this game. I'm like, okay, yeah. And then he literally shakes my hand and says, you take care of me, I take care of you. What do you mean? Like, what do you mean? He's like, when the ball's in the air and it's me and you, I'm coming for your head. Just letting you know that right now. But if the ball's going away from us, there's no need to kill each other. We're good. So I'm like,
That's awesome.
Okay,
A
like
little
so,
business decision there.
but that's how things happen. Like people don't understand that. This is people's careers we're talking about, and people want to be healthy. And the last thing you want is, to get hurt when you don't need to. When a play doesn't involve you. So I remember, like I remember him pre-game coming up to me and just talking to me like, "Yo, like, don't worry, I'll take care of you, and we'll play hard." And we did. We had, whenever I had a couple catches that game, and we battled. But then there's times when there's a run play going on over there, and he's just looking at me like, "You good?" And I'm like, "Sure, I'm good. Take it easy on me." Like, all right, cool.
You know what? That's a savvy vet move there, because he knows that you're a rookie and it's your first start, and he's like, this guy's going to be so hungry. He's probably going to run me over, something like here. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way. Speaking of injury, this was a knee injury, ACL, your second year. Mm-hmm. Was it in training camp?
It was. Yeah. Yep.
And then it took all the way. I was reading, went back. Like I said, I was in the archives today looking at some of this stuff. It was all the way until November of 2012 before you came off the PUP list. How was it? Can you talk a little bit about the challenge of being injured, particularly when a team is, with a new quarterback? Are you part of I've heard kind of horror stories where you're like almost feel like an outsider at times. Like how was it dealing with that knee in 2011 after such a really kind of an exciting start? You were the buzz of talk when it came to the receivers. We had been struggling to find anybody. They had drafted Brandon LaFell the same year that you were drafted, I believe. And it was just like, but you're the one that came out, and we were excited. Like, we were like, we got the diamond in the rough. And then you faced that challenge. How was that experience your second year?
Well, I mean, no one wants to deal with, that kind of thing. And kind of having my whole dream was, to make it into NFL, and then being able to play, alongside one of your heroes in Steve Smith. It was a dream come true, right? So going into that second year, we had a new coach, we had a new offensive coordinator,
Rod Chazinski.
Yep, you remember? And they had they're running this West Coast offense, and they're explosive, and they want to run. We just came from an offense where we ran the ball damn near every other play, and then Chud's like, no, we're going to air this thing out. We're going to throw it every play. And
you wanted to be in that offense too.
My God! So like the first couple of weeks of training camp, I'm going crazy. Like, they're throwing deep balls left and right, just going crazy. So I'm like, this offense is going to be unbelievable. I'm about to have an amazing year. And then I had a hamstring injury, and I came back from the hamstring injury a little too soon. And because of that, I got the knee injury. And that was unfortunate. So the combination of the two, and because of that, it never really healed. And unfortunately, that's my story. But as far as like where that put me mentally and where that kind of put my place on the team, I think everyone's situation is a little different, because I feel people understand who you are and what you bring, and they understand like what your intentions are, right? So if you're a player that you didn't really care before and you get hurt, then guess what? No one's really going to care about you or in whatever situation you're going through at that moment. But if you're a guy that, like you're a team player and you genuinely care about other people, then that's the one where it hurts. It hurts everyone when you're hurt. And I just remember like the guys like consistently coming through and checking in on me on my rehab process. And, I still had great relationships with a lot of the guys. And, during that time where I would rehab, I would still be around the team, obviously all the time. But it sucked because like that was like when Cam started becoming Cam Newton, and you see all your friends, making the plays, and you're like, I'm watching it from the stands, and it kind of killed me from that perspective, because I didn't feel like I was a part of a team. I felt like I was a fan, and I was, but I felt like a fan, and that's the only part that sucked for me and from my perspective. But man, like being able to see that stuff up close, and then seeing the buildup and seeing how we prepared to get to that moment on Sunday, which we all saw, was amazing. And that's the kind of stuff that I can instill into the guys that I coach now, is because I was able to see greatness up close from multiple players, from Steve Smith and from Cam Newton, from the quarterback's position and from the receiver's position. I was able to see that up close, and I was able to have a brief moment of being able to contribute, and I can add all that stuff into now. That's all experiences that I can add and give to other people now. But yeah,
Well,
other than that, man, it was something that you just deal with it and you move on.
I know that people did care about you, and I got proof of it today because there are 2 reporters. One is named Darren Gant. He used to work for, he was with, which paper was he then with? Now he works for the team. He works for Carolina now.
Okay.
And there's this other reporter by the name of Jonathan Jones, who is really big for CBS now. Now he's on TV and all of this. I've interacted with these people for over a decade since we've been doing this podcast, but kind of independent media or podcasts a long time ago were a little bit more, they lack the credibility and that they have now. So these guys do this for a living. They're very professional. They don't often recognize, it's not like they're mean to us or anything, you know what I'm saying? But it's like they're kind of on a different plane.
Okay.
And I put out the tweet, said David Gettis coming on the show, and I see Darren Gant just at Jonathan Jones on it. And it's like I guarantee you that Darren Gant's in watch lurking right now, because I mean these were guys that were covering you then. They were for the local paper, and this was like the one bright spot where, man, that 2010 season. Now you mentioned the hamstring, because this is what I was reading about the knee injury, but I do remember the hammies being an issue. Didn't you were you in Tampa Bay at any time?
Yeah. So
okay, and I felt like that was a hamstrings there.
Get released from Carolina. I had a short stint in Tampa Bay, and then that's when I just realized that in a short stint in Washington as well. Yeah. But yeah, it's unfortunate, but that was just the nature of what happened.
How much did you play? How much did you play with RG3 at Baylor?
At Baylor, so 2 years. 2 years.
2 years.
My junior and senior year were his freshman and sophomore year.
And your senior year was your best year in college, right?
At Baylor, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
by far, yeah. So, awesome. Yeah, well, go
ahead. Cody, you want to go take the next one real quick and segue it to the wide receivers or whatever you want to talk about? I don't want to hog the mic.
Ooh, wide receivers.
Yeah. So, kind of going back to the draft here. Okay. Everybody. I have my draft crush in this year's draft at wide receiver is Zay Flowers out of Boston College. I think Zay is incredible, but there's a big time cornerback coming out of Syracuse this year.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you could speak about him a little bit and tell us a little bit about him and tell us what kind of player you think the NFL is going to be getting, that big time cornerback out there.
You're talking about Garrett Williams, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a stud. Hard worker, physical corner. He's fast. He's quick. Great ball skills. And I mean, the kid can do it all. But the thing I like about him and that he already has what we call act like a pro, be a pro at all times. He's the guy that's going to go into the weight room, do the extra stuff. When no one's looking, he's working every single day after practice. He's working on his T steps or his drop back steps, whatever he is. I'm not a corner, so I'm not going to pretend like I know everything he's doing. But whenever I'm out there and I'm talking to somebody or working with one of the receivers, he's out there doing corner stuff, and that's consistently throughout his entire career at Syracuse. So hard worker. That the class, we got him, we got Sean Tucker, another guy, Bergeron, one of our tackles from Canada, going to be a stud wherever he gets picked up. These are guys that are, unbelievable, and they've earned the right to get to this point, and I hope nothing but the best for them.
Yeah, he's definitely gotten a ton of buzz. A lot of people, I think Daniel Jeremiah even has him as his number one cornerback in this year's draft class. So right. He's definitely a big time prospect. A question I wanted to ask you, what bit of information do you try to impart to all of those young players on those teams? Is there like a certain bit of wisdom or information that you've uncovered in your years playing in the NFL that you feel like is important to impart to these young guys on their journey as they transition into the NFL?
Right. I think the number one thing is from my perspective, is being a professional athlete doesn't turn off. You don't clock in and clock out. Every single move and decision you make is either affecting your ability to perform on Sundays or whatever day you're performing, is either affecting it negatively or positively. So what you want to do is you want to go into it understanding that it's a process and it's a grind, and you understand that, maybe I'm gonna have to, I can't do this today. I can't do this right now because I have to, I gotta go get a massage. I have to go to the gym. I have to run. I gotta do some yoga. I gotta do something else like that. It's a process, and the great ones, they're always working. They're always figuring out something to do. And it's just consistent. It's consistent in every sport. There are no days off. There's always something to be done. There's always work to be done. And there's no one that's going to be telling you to do it. You're on your own,
Yeah,
so
that's
really,
the big
It's
transition
like jumping
there.
from high school to
100%.
college. Yeah.
You're your own business then.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and think about it, like from my perspective, being a college coach right now, if you're late to a meeting, if you're late to class, guess what I got to do? I got to call you. Hey, where are you at? What are you doing? Do I need to come pick you up and bring you? Those kind of things, right? Well, guess what? If you're late to a film session or something in the league, they're gonna just fine you. And then if it happens enough, if it just happens enough, you're gonna get cut. Like, that's simple as that. You know what I'm saying? You're just not gonna be there anymore. If you're hurt and you're not doing the stuff to get back on the field, and no one sees you, they're gonna just replace you and get somebody else. Simple as that. So it has to be all from within to understand, like, everything I want to do, everything I want to succeed, everything I want to accomplish, I have to do it. I have to initiate it. And that's the biggest thing you have to understand, I think, for the most part. The most important thing, at least.
Cody, this is you know what Ty Gurley said about that.
When you want to hoot with the Owls, you better soar with the Eagles. Exactly. And I think I want to say something.
With the Owls, you better soar with the Eagles. There is no excuse, but man, production, and you better be on it there. There. Go ahead, Cody.
My final question that I have for you, and thanks so much again, man. The chat room is loving this interview. They definitely appreciate, and we appreciate the time that you spent with us tonight. My final question is there a certain wide receiver in this draft? Like I said earlier, I'm really partial to Zay Flowers. I think that man, even though they primarily played him from the slot, I think he can be a legit X wide receiver in the NFL. Is there a certain player or a certain wide receiver that you feel has superstar potential in this year's draft?
Yeah. So being in the ACC, I play against Zay Flowers. I played against Josh Downs. I played against A.T. Perry. So those are three guys that I'm not going to necessarily say that those are my top three guys, but those are three guys that I know are going to be able to make a difference on Sundays.
Okay.
And Zay Flowers is definitely one of them. And I figured him out very early on in the process. My job is definitely to go in from a receiver perspective, from my coaching perspective. I'm going out and I'm breaking down the film and saying, what the defenses do for whatever team we're playing against that week. And Zay Flowers' film, because, obviously ACC teams play each other. So you're watching what plays work. And it's such a coincidence that when you're ever watching the highlight reel of the plays that are working against certain defenses, Zay Flowers is coming up consistently. And then you watch his film, and then you realize that this guy is dynamic.
His change of direction is unparalleled. Like, he can stop on a damn dime and then go 100 miles an hour. He's
elite. And I was a huge fan of his, breaking down his film, like, as an opponent. Like, I'm breaking down his film, like, oh my, like, I don't know what we're gonna do when we play this guy, because this guy is gonna go off. Like, so you talking about he's one of your favorite receivers. He's one of my favorite receivers. I was a fan of his since his sophomore year. We talked about A.T. Perry at Wake Forest. Big body, great body control, great hands, and just a playmaker, all-around playmaker, and he can get in and out of his breaks. He can run routes. He creates separation. I'm all about creating separation. And then when he comes down to that, you got Josh Downs in North Carolina, the same thing. So those are three big-time receivers in this draft. I know we got the Jackson Smith and Jigba at Ohio State. What's the guy?
Quentin Johnson, I think. Quentin something. The guy from
Quentin Johnson at TCU. Jalen Hyatt at Tennessee, I believe. right?
Jordan
Okay, and
Addison.
then,
Yep. Jordan Addison.
Jordan from USC.
Yeah,
And,
USC. Yep.
I'm
Well,
missing-
everybody's so small in this class, though. It's kind of an undersized group.
Here goes. So my thing is, right? The league is transforming to where it's not necessarily about
Muscle.
size anymore.
Yes,
It's
I
not
agree.
about being the biggest guy on the field. It's about your ability to get open and catch passes.
Mhm.
Can you consistently get open and catch passes? So you don't have to be 6'3" to be able to do that. You don't have to be. So, like, that's why Zay Flowers, to me, like, if you draft him, you're getting a guy that's going to play for you on Sunday, like day one. Like,
Is he
he's
like
ready.
a Waddle? Is he kind of like Waddle, maybe? Or
I would say he's a little bit more polished than Waddle. Waddle's, I mean, he's good. I get it, but this kid he's polished. He's a polished route runner and he's explosive.
Do you have a comparison?
you got a comp? Like
Steve
a
Smith?
comp?
Huh? Steve Smith?
Smith.
Oh, how about that one?
Wow.
You're trading up and getting him.
I'm
You're
sorry.
saying
I'll say
ceiling
it right
Steve
now.
Smith,
And
right?
I think he would
Like,
agree. I think I
ceiling
honestly
Steve
think
Smith, right?
If someone
Okay.
were to ask Steve Smith, like, who do you think compares to your game the most? He would say Flowers.
Okay.
Yeah. Steve has been very glowing of Zay Flowers, man. And I've even heard Antonio Brown as another comparison, just because similar body size, but man, the footwork
So
is
kinda
just
shifty,
nasty.
sneaky.
Yeah. His ability to
Okay.
make separation on his own. I echo that sentiment 1,000%, David.
Think about what that does for your team when you have a receiver that can consistently beat whoever's in front of them. What does that mean you have to do if you're a game planner?
With
If I'm,
DJ
if, I'm,
Shark.
if I'm a defensive coordinator and I know that you're going to beat my guy every single time, that means I got to give help. That means that's one extra person that you're taking away from something else. You're taking one extra person away from the box in the run fit. You're taking one person away from coverage from somebody else. And now you can scheme up all these other things over here because now he's getting so much, he's getting so much attention over here. That's the name of the game. When you have a Justin Jefferson, when you have a Cooper Kupp, when you have these guys, the elite receivers, it changes the game for you as an offensive coordinator. It makes things so much easier. So that's the priority. That's the premium, is finding a guy that can do that at an elite level. And it doesn't necessarily mean that he has to be 6'3" to do it.
He seems like, what he sounds like, Cody? It sounds like he could be a Frank Reich type of player. Who was the guy that was in the Colts a couple of years ago? He's really T.Y. Hilton, and there was one other. I think it started with a P. I'm going to find his name. But it's like these guys are real important to what they can do, drawing attention away. So sometimes it's what you have to account for the player, even when they're not getting the ball, that then opens up things on the other side. Fantastic stuff. Last question, CK, around the horn, and we'll let Coach Gettis get on with his evening. He's been so generous with his time tonight.
Yeah, we've absolutely
monopolized
your evening.
I told him 15 minutes when I reached out. I was like, oh, God, I lied.
I'm sitting here 15 minutes. We're 9, 10, 15.
No,
it's been a
15
really good
minutes.
conversation, man. I appreciate it for sure. I think we've been so complimentary of our additions and the potential for other wide receivers. We've left a couple of big question marks on the field, or on I guess on the table. And that is Terrace Marshall Jr. and Shi Smith. When you see the receiving core the Panthers have, if you draft a guy like Zay Flowers, it's leaving a guy like TMJ off of the first team, right? He's not going to be starting for the team on a regular occurrence unless something were to happen to Thielen or DJ Chark. So what are your opinions on what you've seen? I know you probably haven't been able to do a deep dive into TMJ or Shi Smith for that matter, but those are two promising young draft picks that we've still got on rookie contracts. What are your thoughts on those guys?
I think Terrace Marshall, even back in LSU, we all remember the amazing year that they had with Justin Jefferson and Chase.
Yes, sir.
Well, he's right there along with those two. If you all recall, he's up there making big time play after big time play after big time play. So this dude was amazing. And I think that he's coming into his own because he wasn't really asked to do much. And then he wasn't really given the role to necessarily show what he's fully able to do. So I think he has all the potential in the world. And I think he's going to have an opportunity to show that and showcase that. And there's definitely always, like we talked about, the premium and the priority of being able to create separation. Well, there will always be a space in the NFL for big receivers that can just use their size to their advantage, right?
Mhm.
But he's athletic and he's fast and he can do it all. So I really do believe that he is trending up in the right way. I'm not who's the other guy you said?
Shy Smith.
Shot
Okay,
Smith.
so I'm not too sure about him, so I don't want to lie and say like, oh yeah, watch these films. I
Right.
haven't.
Right.
But
Paris Campbell was the guy. Paris Campbell.
yeah,
That's the guy.
with the Colts.
Yeah, he was really important to Reich's scheme. And I wonder if that, they're always talking about trying to replicate that. I do. Because I lie. I'll keep you here as long as I'm getting the most squeeze out of the most
hold the
juice from
udder.
the squeeze.
Right.
All right. So the thing that blew me away when I went to training camp for the first time and I'm watching it is I hear people talking about, oh, the reps, the practice, the reps, the practice, the reps. And you think, when I think of practice, I think of doing something like 100 times over and over again. What blew me away is when I went to my first training camp and it's like, you got one it's like, we just installed that in the offense. Moving on. It's like one go. And that's it. And it's like next thing. Like I, in my mind, am sitting here going, that's not practice, dude. That's just me trying it the first time. What is that like one of the big jumps from the college to the pros? Is that just like it's like, hey, you're either keeping up with it or you're falling behind.
Well, think about this. You were talking about stress earlier on in the show, right? So think about this for a second. From my perspective, because, 6th-round draft pick, I'm not promised anything, right? So my experience in training camp, to go along with what you're saying, was, but I'm not getting any of those reps until the very end. And if I do get a rep, it's one or two for the first couple of practices. And understanding while that's happening, they're still cutting people who are not getting reps. So you got to practice reps. That includes practice reps. We take it for granted, just like, oh man, I don't feel like practicing today. Just having the opportunity to go out there and practice, get a rep and practice. Oh my God, he's going to throw me the ball in 7-on-7. He's going to throw me a pass in practice is amazing. Like that's one of the biggest trends. Like you talk about the things that are totally different from college to the NFL. Like you take all that stuff for granted in college because, oh man, I'm a senior. I've been doing this for 4 years. Oh, we got spring ball. Oh, we got camp. I just want the season to get here. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you're used to like practicing whenever and getting all the reps and all of it. It's totally different. Now you have a complete whole roster of guys. You're talking about a stacked receiver room. Like, guess what? Like, they're not all going to get the same amount of reps. Like,
so
the bubble is already on the existence before you even take your reps. That's 100%. The other thing that's crazy. When you look at the size of the roster being 90 to start and the cuts, they really probably know the top 63 people that, or in their mind, they probably have an idea. It's got to be really hard to climb. We've had one of my favorite players in the NFL of all time. I love him. Damiere Byrd, an undrafted rookie free agent wide receiver who weighs 170 pounds soaking wet. Chirp, chirp. He's come on the podcast twice. What I try to tell people, or at least because I know we pick winners and losers, we pick favorites, and he's a favorite of mine because he's been on the show and just a lot when we were just getting started. And but to me, what's been so amazing is the fact that he has made it on 4 different teams. And he's a guy that you expect the staff probably thinks is going to get cut every time at the beginning we walk in there. And somehow he finds a way to pierce through all of that. And that's just a crazy it's got to be so hard, right? Because, they know they're only bringing 6 receivers in. There's 12 receivers on the in camp.
Right.
There's 6 that are going to get cut. We know that. And if you're number 6, 7, 5, 6, 7, good Lord, every moment counts. This was tremendous, Coach Gettis. You know what? I will one day bug you in the future, but I could promise you, I'm doing this long enough. I won't go back to the well too early. But
no,
man,
I enjoyed this. This is fun. Any chance I get to talk football, count me in. I'm a lifer, so I love this.
Love it.
This has
Love
been
it.
fantastic. All right.
One of us.
Yeah.
One of us.
Warhammer,
One
too,
of
so
us.
he's a Marvel guy. I love it.
All right, man. Can you just give out your if you would like, you can give out your Twitter handle, because I know. Look, as we have over 220 people watching right now, we'll have people that will be tuning in over the next few days that are going to be excited about this. And this is the podcast for people that follow the Carolina Panthers to like a ridiculous level, where it's like, wait a minute, you guys. Yeah, this is a little unhealthy almost. But they eat up this kind of stuff, man. So if you could let them know, maybe they'll check you out, or at least, man, we just thank you again.
Thank you so much. I honestly don't even know.
It's at Coach Gettis. It's at Coach Gettis.
Okay, is that it? Yeah, that's what it is. I literally just have it just for coaching purposes. I have no idea.
I figured, I was like, he's got his. I was like, man, I'm gonna sneak in here. I was like, I know this is in case a damn student has to message him.
Oh man, it's all good. You just deal with that kind of stuff. It comes with the territory, but it's all good. And I enjoyed this. This is awesome. This is amazing, and God bless and good luck with everything going forward, and good luck to the Panthers on their draft process, because that's a hell of a decision.
That is the truth. Baby. Thank you so much. I'm a Coke guy. I'm a Coca-Cola guy. All right, man. Have a great night, Coach Gettis.
All right, good night.
Holy cow, that was fantastic, man. It's always fun. Always fun when we, kudos to, I didn't ask him about the track thing. He holds the record.
Good. He said he still holds it.
Yeah, he said, I'm about to give myself. I told you I was going to get Coach Gettis. Have I not been talking about David Gettis on this podcast for like 6 months?
1 segment right there. 1 segment.
Fantastic get, Tony.
Great get.
What a good interview, too.
Bumping,
really
man.
good.
Everybody loved that. That was
super enjoyable.
fantastic. David is the man, and we will definitely be having him back on the C3 Panthers podcast.
Yeah. You know what is I'm gonna give myself one of anyway. All right, what do we got here? Don't forget the number's 252-228-5098. We want to get your thoughts. Let's start. Let's get into the meat of the latest Panthers news, opinions, and what's been ramping up. Cody is the great the master debate is continued to build, and now it's taken a kind of bizarre turn. I don't trust. I won't say I don't trust. I don't think that there's any new information.
You don't think so?
No, there's not.
And there was last week. I feel like it's an organism. The conversation is an organism, and it just kind of it's ebbing and flowing and growing. And one guy says something, and the next guy kind of builds on that. And then the momentum swings this way. And then somebody's going to go, well, hey, we've had another GM that said, no, this is this. And then 27 podcasts are going to talk about it. And then 27 shows, and it's going to build the conversation. I don't know what has discernibly changed from last week or 2 weeks ago that makes Bryce Young the clear-cut pick for the Carolina Panthers. Maybe the odds are returning to the mean. Maybe they had swung to CJ Stroud a little too hard at one point because we saw him. I don't even know why. You know what? It's like, why did they swing to Stroud so much? Part of that living organism of discussion. But I tell you, the Carolina Panthers find themselves once again the decider of a very controversial. This is great. This is great for the show, great for draft discussion, and exhausting to me. It's exhausting, but right now Bryce Young has become the odds-on favorite to be the number one pick.
Tony, I have run this poll in the chat for 3 weeks now, just a straight CJ Stroud versus Bryce Young. Week 1, CJ 92%. Week 2, CJ 79%. And this week, just now ended it, CJ 58%. For some reason,
Wow.
It's
for
group.
some
Are
reason
we
or
group
another,
think? It's
the
group
entire
think.
fandom is
Oh, it's
changing.
working.
And
It's
Tony,
working for me.
I'm with you. There has been nothing changed since the last time we saw these players played in a game.
Nice.
Nothing has changed at all. Period. Nothing.
Group
Yet
think
somehow, even in the C3 fandom, CJ backing has gone down in 3 weeks.
So, one, Tony, awesome layout. This is perfect right
Here,
here.
I got one more too. Chisla, do you like this one better?
I mean, it's either or. Either one of them
Okay.
works
So we
well.
gotta. This is a new feature. I was playing with it till I was up so late last night. I got
No. This is great. So listen,
Good,
it used to be earlier on, a few weeks ago. All of the mock drafts and all of the analysts, they all had CJ Stroud connected to the Carolina Panthers. But let me tell you what, boys, that is very much not the case anymore.
No.
Just about every media outlet, about every analyst, even the ones that work for the Panthers, are associating the Carolina Panthers with Alabama quarterback Bryce
Like
Young.
who for the Panthers? Who for the Panthers?
How about our very own David Newton?
Well,
David
he's
Newton
not a
said he
Panther.
believes
Not a Panther.
that it's going to be Stroud. There have been a lot of people that have said that it's going to end up being Bryce Young rather. But in my mind, Peter Schrager weighing in on this has really started to move the discussion in another way. Because for those of you who don't know, Peter Schrager, he doesn't break down the film. He doesn't, you look at 3-step drops or 5-step drops or protection. None of that. He does his mock drafts based on what he has been hearing. And he also says that Bryce Young is the number one in the wheelhouse. And he said that fairly recently as well. Also, now the betting lines, so much money has come in on Bryce that now he's minus 120 to be the pick for the Carolina Panthers. CJ Stroud is at plus 175 and Anthony Richardson at plus 2,000. So, boys,
2,000?
yeah. So, boys, my question is this already a wrap? I mean, they haven't. We'll get to this a little bit later. They haven't met with CJ Stroud yet. They met with Bryce Young today. So they had their first interview with Bryce. Is this already over? Is Bryce Young going to be the new quarterback for the Carolina Panthers? Because right now, I used to feel like maybe it was a smokescreen to try and get the Houston Texans to move up one spot. But now, I got to be honest, man. I'm kind of believing that where there's smoke, there's fire. I kind of think that the Panthers are in love with Bryce Young right now.
I don't have any reason to confirm or deny it.
Right.
That's the thing is I don't think. Well, first, the betting line all comes about where the money's coming in, right? Yeah. So, like you're right, is like that just means that people that are putting their bets on this have been listening to the radio, they've been listening to the news, they've been listening to the talk. Right. I don't know how it would behoove the Carolina Panthers to ultimately have made their a crazy firm decision from last week to this week that they wouldn't have made a week earlier.
Right. Or when they made the trade.
Yeah.
Right?
Is that so? I think that people have taken a few tidbits of information, a few comments from here, one comment from Fitterer about how good Bryce Young is. I think they've blended this with another thing they've heard, and they create they breathe life into a narrative that could be true, but also just is seemingly still largely speculation. Yeah. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Bryce Young was the type of player that they would just say yes. But I just also can see a world where they pick Stroud too. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it is a clear. I think this is a little bit more of a coin toss, a coin flip than people give it credit for. I think the one thing that maybe Bryce Young that kind of wins with the interviews and this is like, you can kind of just see him. He seems like a guy that from the very first day would be able to handle the moment of being a number one pick, the pressure, all of that. It's just like, he seems it's almost too good to be true in a way. Like, it's just like, good God, it's that intangible thing. But I think that when I say that too, and when people talk about processing, then this and that, I think it's an unfair slight to CJ Stroud as well. And what I mean is this: both people can be very good at processing. Both people can be very good at leadership. And I will tell you, every time I don't follow this as closely as some of the other people, but every time I've heard CJ Stroud speak, it's a very thoughtful, diplomatic, honest answer. So I don't think the moment would be too big for him either. And so I don't really think why would it be? First of all, Roger Goodell does not want people to know who the draft pick is. The worst thing that could happen for the NFL is for us to find out who the hell the Carolina Panthers are going to pick at number 1 2 weeks ahead of time. You want the build. You want the excitement. You want the drama. They don't want to leak that information. I would say that the same information we had 2 weeks is the same information we have today. And you know what? At this time, you're probably, you know why the money's moving is because, hey, you think Bryce Young's probably winning in interviews. You go, oh, this is where he's going to shine. Just like Anthony Richardson's moment was at the combine. Oh, then his name goes crazy, right? Then it just kind of follows these predetermined narratives in a way, which is interesting because now there's this bizarre story regarding CJ Stroud.
Yeah, and we'll get into that. Greg, I'm going to let you go up next. I wanted to make sure I didn't forget this. Corey Ruffins with the $2 says, what's up, C3 fam? Keep pounding. And then after Greg and CK talk about this, I actually have a clip from Peter Schrager. Go ahead, Greg.
Just real quick, I just want to say, I feel like it sucks going into the season to this point of I don't want to feel bad about drafting Bryce Young, but because I picked CJ from the beginning and I feel like CJ is a better choice, there are 2 reasons that I don't want him. One is selfish because I picked him. Yeah. So I want CJ to win. And 2, I don't like number 9. Like, it bothers me. That does not look good. That does not look good in a Panthers uniform, number 9. I cannot buy that jersey and wear it. I'm sorry. Number 9 doesn't work for me. So I don't know, man. I am not going to be disappointed with Bryce Young if we get him. I feel like he's going to be a good quarterback in the NFL, and he may be our guy in the future. It's just not the guy I picked. And I'm following through with the guy I picked from the beginning is CJ Stroud. So we're gonna see what happens.
Yeah, CK. But we're gonna go to you next. Let me play this clip real quick of Peter Schrager talking about Bryce Young.
Peter Schrager, prospect 735 at the combine. I'm sitting down for an S2 test. What is the actual test?
Yep. So our test is about 45 minutes in which you sit in front of a specialized gaming system that was built for millisecond precision. One of the tests that I think a lot of companies may use is object tracking. So how many objects you got to broaden your attention and keep track of many moving objects, right? An example of a laboratory-based test is you may have to track 3 or 4 objects for 10 or 15 seconds. And here's where Scott and I got a little bit more sophisticated, is that's not how football operates, right? You've got to have a play is 3 to 5 seconds. And so we duplicated with how many objects are on the screen is what a quarterback or a safety is going to have to look at. And we actually measured how quickly DBs and receivers move across the field. And so that's how quickly our balls move across the screen. It's only for 3 or 5 seconds like an NFL play. So we really tried to narrow down the laboratory tests, which may have 10 or 15 balls moving across the screen and you've got to keep track of 3 of them. We push the limits there. We make these defensive backs and these middle linebackers have to track 9 objects, right? Because that might be their life within 3 seconds at the speed in which the game moves. So it's sports specific in that respect, but it is a classic sort of computer-based laboratory test.
So that's talking about the S2 test, and Bryce Young had the highest S2 test of any player in this year's draft. So when, I feel like generational talent, whenever that term gets thrown around, inevitably it's always talking about the 6'5" guys with the cannon arms. But I mean, I really do think that you can call Bryce a generational talent as far as his understanding of NFL defenses and knowing what to do pre and post snap and coverages. To me, it actually is on another level. And I kind of think that's why you are starting to hear about Bryce Young being the leader of CK.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. You talk about the group thing. I mean, I've been very much on the, I would say on the fence, but on the CJ Stroud side of that fence. I'm starting to come back to where I'm dead center on that fence. I am dead center with all of even with the height part of it coming into effect, whatever that may be, like all of those things, I am still dead center. And I think that's, I couldn't really pinpoint anything in particular. It's just when you start to watch, I've watched the film as much as I can without clawing my eyes out from not understanding what everything is going on because of circumstances with regard to college, all that stuff, right? But I mean, the dude just he wins me over in his interviews. He wins me over on the field.
He's gonna have great commercials.
Yeah,
he's gonna have great commercials.
Boy, really? I didn't even think about that.
Fair enough, right? But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it all boils down to whether or not he's going to be successful in the NFL, and I don't think that I'm going to be paid nearly enough to be able to make that type of a choice. So I'm going to respect the guys who do, but I am not going to be angry with the idea of adding any of these guys, either of these guys, I should say, to the Panthers. Let me ask you guys, and honestly, if you on draft night, the Panthers pick comes across the board, they say CJ Stroud or they say Bryce Young, what is going to make you feel more excited?
That the draft is over?
Neither is gonna. I'm gonna have. Yeah, that's what I'm.
That
I'm
it's
gonna
over,
be excited that we just have the player because I don't have a real horse in the race. No. Right? It's like what Coach Gettis was saying is Pepsi and Coke. What I have a problem with is kind of fans taking ownership of like, man, I don't want to tell people how to fan. That's not what it's like. You're dumb for thinking differently than I think. And that just irritates me. I've said from the beginning, I'm not going to change my opinion on this right now because I don't have any other reason to.
Right.
I think CJ Stroud is the pick. But if I'm wrong, I don't care if he's not. It's like, I guess the only thing I would care is that if we did something really risky, I would be very, like if you went Anthony Richardson or something like crazy and it just changed, I wouldn't even be mad. I would just be really kind of uneasy in a way.
Disappointed.
Yeah, it's just like, whoa, I didn't see that coming. But either way, I'm not going to be messaging people if it is CJ Stroud and being like, told you it was CJ. I don't really, is that I'm going to hope the best for Bryce Young. I just don't think it is absurd to question if Young's size and stature should be thought about and be a conversation.
Can I throw one more wrench into this? I mean, I know we're talking about the size. Do you know the weight difference between those two guys?
25 pounds?
10 pounds.
No, 10 pounds. I think isn't he 215?
210.
So it's a little bit of
10 pounds of muscle.
So a lot of people feel like
10 pounds of muscle is a lot.
No, it's not muscle if he's taller. If you look at their builds, They are very similar size from a
But
build perspective.
But that doesn't mean it's not muscle.
Yes, it does.
Taller.
Yeah, it does. It means if he's
That
got
means
more,
his muscles are bigger, so it probably is muscle.
well, it's not more muscle from a density perspective. It might be more muscle from a I need more muscle to be able to lift my arm up.
Well,
But-
look, here's
Okay.
the truth of it. CJ has more real estate to put more future muscle mass
that would be the
on.
argument.
Yes.
Right, because he is 6'3", and yes, he's 10 pounds heavier, but even that's also
Right.
a little bit of a caveat because more than likely Bryce Young put on a lot of water weight to make sure that he was above
Yeah,
200
like 10 pounds.
Yeah,
They say his
at
playing
the
weight's
combine.
190.
Yeah, his
190
playing weight is normally between 190 to 195. And CJ Stroud, Ohio State coaches have said that during the season he will play and did play at upwards of 220 pounds. So I kind of felt like CJ lost a little bit of weight
Right.
preparing for this combine. But you know what, man? It doesn't bother me, man. Like to me, when
it doesn't bother you, but it is a worthy conversation, Cody.
It's a worthy conversation to have. 100%.
Because you can say it's just 10 pounds, you can say it's just 2 inches, but there's a big difference between being 6'1" and 5'11". There is a big difference between being 250 and 225, right? And I'm not saying that the CJ Stroud is literally head and shoulders above Bryce Williams. But I'm not saying Bryce Young.
I was about to say.
Who's Bryce Williams? I don't even know who Bryce Williams. I think he's a former ECU Pirate. The point that I'm trying to make is that you can't deny that's how about this is then why does it matter? Why do we even measure them? Any of them then? If it doesn't matter at all, why the fuck did we have the measurements in the first place? Why is it that all of a sudden in one category, you can find a guy that runs a 40 time by a 10th of a second more or whatever, a 1/100th of a second more. And you're like, oh my God, this is and then you change your whole and you change all of this. But then you just have this is that everybody is big and fast in the NFL. Certainly, we're not saying his game is going to be predicated on running. He's not going to be like Mike Vick or something. We're not worried about his slight frame undermining his game translating. What we're just trying to say is that the big boys, it's just what are the odds? Are the odds ultimately in your favor? They show that one clip, Cody, of I think it was Josh McCown talking about his strength and his core strength and how he broke through these arm tackles and things. And you just wonder, man, what happens when he gets TJ Watt? And then you could say the same thing for CJ Stroud. People be like, well, that happened to Cam. I understand all of those things, but we don't let high school kids go play in college. At some point, do you see some point it has to matter somewhat?
There's always an outline. Go ahead.
Here's the thing, and this is the problem with life and people with life, is there are rules you have to follow, okay? And the rules are with the NFL being big and fast, okay? There are always anomalies to the rules. You can't change the rules based on the anomalies. Period.
This is what CK's been saying for a
while.
while.
You can't change the rules based on the anomalies. And this is the way life goes too. You cannot change life rules based on the way certain little things go. And like the NFL is the same way. There are instances where short quarterbacks have been successful. But I want somebody to juxtapose that next to short quarterbacks being unsuccessful.
What if we put it this way, Cody, for you? What if we just said this is his size is not an advantage?
No, listen.
What if we just say that? It's just not an advantage. It's like being in the being in the NBA, being 5'9" is not an advantage. Doesn't mean you can't be Bugsy Bogues or something.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. At some point, you have to look at the talent level of a player like a Muggsy Bogues and say, yeah, you know what? I don't care that he's super short. This guy has special traits and abilities that you have to capitalize. But hold on, Greg, because I want to push back on something that you said. Listen, there has never been a quarterback 6 foot to win a Super Bowl until Drew Brees did it. Then there was never a quarterback 5'11" that won the Super Bowl until Russell Wilson did it. So there's always going to be outliers that exists outside of the normal framework of what you want from a traditional pocket quarterback. But at the same time, imagine how much egg the Carolina Panthers would have on their face if they did pass on drafting Bryce Young. And he goes on to be this incredible young player that has the ability to do all the things that he did in college in the NFL. I think it's
you say the same if
reasonable.
they passed on Stroud
It's
too.
right, but
Always
it's
a scenario
reasonable.
in every
It's
case.
reasonable
Yes.
to be concerned about it. But if you see a bunch of talent, and if you think that you're able to put the right kind of offensive line around him that's going to be able to protect him for the next 5 years, then I don't think that it should be enough to frighten you off of making that pick.
Okay. So Cody, I want to ask you. I'm 5'7.5". I can throw the ball pretty good. Like, I'm not gonna say I'm great, but I can throw the ball pretty good. Like, you see me do 10 plays that I pick with elite wide receivers that are with no defense.
This is not a good example.
No defense. No, it is. It is good. It's good. Okay. Would you bet on me or the guy who does the same thing as me at 6'3"? Would you bet your paycheck on me or that guy? Almost the exact same thing.
But that's
he's
not
6'3".
a good example, though.
It is the example. It's the exact same example.
Listen, I
same example.
Look, I understand why you would want the upside, and I've said on this channel, I do believe that CJ Stroud has the bigger arm between the two of them, and I love CJ Stroud's ball placement and accuracy as well. So I understand that argument, though. But to me, Bryce Young, if you're ever going to draft a quarterback that size, well, it would be for a player that can make plays and do things like a Bryce Young can.
For a player
And
you
the,
think
my
can make
last
plays. You think can make plays. Like I said, go back and look at it. His best season is not better than Baker Mayfield's.
Yeah, but Baker Mayfield came from a rudimentary spread offense that never saw him under center.
Rudimentary?
Yeah, they came from a spread. They came from the spread. They were running mesh concepts all the time.
So he was
it was
more
that
a pro
spread
offense than
it was
college
the same
offense, what you're
reason.
saying.
It was the same reason why Patrick Mahomes was devalued coming out of Texas Tech.
So you're
because
saying
of
he was
that
in a more
offense.
pro offense than Bryce Young is, had the same
No,
numbers,
other way
and
around.
failed the
But
NFL.
no. Bryce Young had had similar numbers in a far more pro style offense.
Yeah, because he's going to be trained up by he was trained up by an NFL coordinator.
Yes,
Bill
Bill O'Brien
so
was his offensive coordinator. And another differentiating factor between those two quarterbacks, Greg, is the amount of control that they gave Bryce Young over that Alabama offensive line. He was making checks at the line of scrimmage, calling protection, literally doing all the things that NFL quarterbacks have to do. That's why he's so advanced in years above his age, and that's why he's being talked about the way that he is right now.
Get out it. Miss me with that rudimentary stuff, man. Lincoln Riley. Nobody was saying, Nick Saban wasn't calling it rudimentary when he encouraged Jalen Hurts to go to Oklahoma and win a damn Heisman with Lincoln Riley. And look at what Lincoln Riley is a quarterback whisperer, man. He's like the Kyle Shanahan of college football when it comes to that
quarterback-friendly offense, and it doesn't require a lot of the quarterback. A lot of it is RPOs, second and first reads, and a lot of stuff that doesn't directly translate to the NFL, and that's not the same with Bryce.
Let's go on to Stroud, and that I guess this is where I'm kind of holding back. Is I love what people are saying. I also when it comes to Bryce Young, and
I'm gonna go off on this in a minute.
That ability, but the thing is that I don't feel like it would be one thing if we're comparing Bryce Young to Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
Right. Is like, the difference, like the potential versus the polish. But I think that CJ Stroud is pretty damn polished as well, though.
I do too.
That's my point, is that like I don't think that I just don't think it's like the most insane drop off from Young to Stroud.
Well, listen, the devaluation process is going hot and heavy right now. And
Who's doing this? Indy?
Listen, I'm going to have to borrow Greg's tinfoil hat and put it on my big ass head tonight, because I'm telling you, there is a smear campaign currently running against my guy CJ Stroud, and I think it's bullshit, man. I think it's the same thing that happened to Justin Fields a few years ago, where teams were trying to get him to fall. So now all these narratives are coming out of nowhere that as a quarterback prospect, you have no way to defend yourself against some of these accusations. And to show you all kind of what I'm talking about, I'm not going to play the whole thing, but this is a small clip of Mike Lombardi talking about the discussion going on around CJ Stroud.
Everybody just assumes that Houston's taking the quarterback. CJ Stroud's an interesting guy. When you talk to people in the league, they'll tell you CJ Stroud is not. This is not a knock. This is just a conversation. Not an easy guy to coach. Kind of,
How in the hell is that not a knock?
Right. Play the rest of it. Okay.
It's like whenever you start a conversation with, I
think
no
the word
offense,
that
but
people use is he's very not believing in what you're saying.
Look at that.
So
I don't trust this guy right
it's
away.
Not like he.
Yeah.
Rewind it. He said,
and
I think there's one word, and then he just makes this shit up.
He's very. I think the word that people use is he's very not believing in what you're saying, and so he's
That's not a word. That's a sentence,
dumbass. Oh my god,
a little bit challenging to coach. So it's not like he comes in and embraces it. It's a little bit. He's got a little bit different style.
Is that where it's like he thinks he knows better?
He thinks he knows a little bit better.
This is unethical.
Hard to take to coach it.
This is
Tony,
unethical, right?
You know what? I'm not even playing the rest of this shit. I'm sorry. Listen, if you want to find it, go find it on Twitter, dude. But listen, to me, this is like none of that stuff he can actually defend himself against. Now you're assuming things about his character that have literally never ever been mentioned or ever said before by any of his coaches, either in high school or college. He's getting ready to go into the NFL, and all of a sudden, now he's not coachable. Right. Now
he's on the Colts payroll, dude.
Now he thinks he knows better than everyone else. Dude, call me a conspiracy theorist all you want, but I guarantee you, man, this is either the Colts or the Raiders or some other dirtbag dumpster fire football team that is trying to tank CJ Stroud's draft stock. And I frankly think that is bullshit, man. And I think it's unfair. And I think all CJ Stroud fans should have a right to be upset about this.
Yeah, I think it's unethical. What do we got next?
So, now we have some of the visits that are going on for the Carolina Panthers. We might have to go back to the other one for a minute, Tony. I can barely read it from that perspective. So right now we're going to go through all of the picks that we currently know that the Panthers have visited with in some shape or fashion. For the quarterbacks, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young. We knew that. We've met with running back Zach Evans, wide receiver Xavier Gibson, Charlie Jones, Jonathan Mingo, Jackson Smith and Jigba. That was CJ Stroud's dude. Steve Avila, Anthony Bradford. Those last two were offensive linemen. For edge rushers, BJ Ojolari out of LSU is someone that the Panthers have met with. That's a very exciting prospect, potentially at number 39. Linebacker Bumper Pool, cornerback Julius Brents, Joey Porter Jr., maybe the top corner from this year's class. And then local visits that don't count against our top 30 is O-line Nick Saldiveri and O-line Chandler Zavala. So right now, judging based on what we're looking at, it seems as though there is an offensive priority amongst the Panthers front office looking to bring in a lot of offensive help.
Was Zay Flowers on the list?
He does have a meeting, but he was not on this list. But I want to say that he was. I'm gonna look that up real quick.
I'm interested. Yeah, we'll be watching this. Is that all of the, I wonder why the Panthers. I guess are they trying to just show that they're being thorough by meeting with Will Levis, Anthony Richardson? Is there any case where they could find a reason to pick one of the? I just don't think it's outside of Bryce. I mean, I would be floored and shocked if it's not Stroud or Young. Just can't see it happening. And I'm telling you, crazy red flag. That watching that video of him eat the banana with the peel on is it's unsettling, dude.
Lavish.
It's unsettling.
I call him a mayonnaise monster.
Yeah,
that's what it is. He's a mayonnaise monster.
All right. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll be excited. Don't forget that we'll be having the 10th annual live draft party where we will be waiting and watching. And then it turns out that while we are guaranteed to have that Thursday night show, generally the excitement from fans gets us up here watching some of the other rounds at some point. We just don't always commit to the exact times because of how big that party is and how many obligations there are. What's next in the show, Cody?
Yeah, so up next.
I can do it.
No, we got it. Up next on the docket. So look, kudos to Tony. He had himself a viral tweet, man.
Two of them. I got two of them.
Yeah, man. So why don't you break this down for our listeners?
So I just put out what could be considered. In fact, it's not even just my list. It's just a top 10 list. Because it's like one is like, how objectively do you make the list? How much is fan base? How much is their time in Carolina? There's so many things to consider because I think that Julius Peppers has had an even better career than Steve Smith in the NFL. I think he's first ballot. So I get Steve Smith did almost all of it in Carolina. I really see the argument for being Steve Smith being the top player. A lot of people didn't like that Cam was down on this list, and I guess that Luke was above him. I thought this is as I was thinking about that, because I'm a Cam guy. It's Julius Peppers and Cam Newton are my two favorite Carolina Panther players of all time. But people are like, oh, Luke didn't do it for very long. Arguably, Cam didn't either. Is that really, did Cam do it any longer? Technically, one more season, but he had just as many injuries as Luke did.
The difference, I think, between the two is, and this is no knock on Cam, but Luke was largely considered the best linebacker in the league for the majority of his career. Cam Newton had 1 year of people believing he was the best quarterback.
And I don't even know if they said he was the best. They would say he had the
MVP.
best season.
Yeah. So, and that's, again, I want to make this clear. That is not a knock on Cam Newton as a whole. He was clearly a great player for us. But I think it is fair to say that Luke was probably a better Carolina Panther from the perspective of being the best at his craft for a longer period of time.
People get visceral over these lists, though, Cody, and thankfully, I didn't let it bother me. Not that I really wasn't. But there was a bunch of names. People would say like four more names, from Jonathan Stewart to Chris Gamble to Jake Delhomme. I think Jake Delhomme's got to be on this list. And I think that really is, unfortunately, is the bystander here is Mike Minter. You got to think about who to push out of the list, but you can't push Delhomme, Stu, and Gamble all into the list because then it pushes out too many players.
Well, how about this? How about we do a poll? What do fans think, or who do you guys think had a better list? Because since Tony did it, I felt inclined, and then Greg, then you can tell me yours. This was my list that I put up on Twitter. And again, I told everybody, if you don't like mine, make your own. I had Cam Newton, Luke Kuechly, Steve Smith, Julius Peppers, Greg Olsen, Thomas Davis, Jake Delhomme, Jonathan Stewart, Jordan Gross, and Ryan Khalil. Because to me, those guys are the names that I think about first when talking about the Carolina Panthers. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of different ways that you can look at this. To me, Cam's my number one just because I love him, man. I wouldn't be a fan of the Panthers if not for Cameron Jarrell Newton. So I have to pay respect and homage to my guy Ace. But go ahead, Greg.
Well, I was just going to say, based on y'all's two polls there, I have my opinion of the two, of course, but from what I can see, I need to make a poll between Jake Delhomme, Chris Gamble, Thomas Davis, and who is the last guy that was controversial? Mike Minter. I'm gonna put a poll.
I don't think Jonathan Stewart. I don't think Jonathan Stewart should be on the list, and I'm not trying.
He's the all-time rushing yard leader. All-time rushing yard leader for the Carolina Panthers.
I understand that he is, but that would be like saying because you had the most tackles in team history, you should be ahead of Luke Kuechly or something.
I mean, he's
but
the
if
best.
Your job is to tackle, then yes, you should.
All right, all right, so here's the thing: is that first we know this is that there's two running backs in team history that had better seasons than Jonathan Stewart. Stephen Davis in 2003 had 1,600 rushing yards, the most singles.
One season though.
Yeah, but he did it. He did 3 1,000-yard seasons with the team, but he had the greatest single rushing season, just rushing. Then you have Christian McCaffrey with the 1,000. So I'm just saying this is that it's like John Casey has like the most points in the history of like football almost or some shit like that. Like, I mean, he kicked for a billion years. Even after we released him, he still went on to kick for like 4 years and be really good. He had one play that's iconically bad. I mean, I'm not mad if Jay Stu's on the list. I get it. But at the same time, I think he's a bubble guy. I think Minter's a bubble guy. I think Gamble's a bubble guy. I think I don't think Khalil should really be on it. Maybe.
Why? He's the best. Dude, in my opinion,
no, he's the best
if you can make the argument that they were one of the best at that positions on the history of this team, then I think they deserve to be on the list. I made the argument that Jonathan Stewart is the best running back in the history of the Carolina Panthers. I'm sorry.
I'm not going to fight over it.
He had the most rushing yards. I think Jay Stu is incredible, and he was a wrecking ball for the time that he was here.
And my only argument right now, honestly, is like the Mike Minter part. Like, while I love Mike Minter at best was a number 2 wide receiver in the NFL.
No, he was a
fantastic
safety.
Wide receiver.
Safety. He was a safety. You're thinking
about Musa Muhammad. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. At best, a number 2 wide receiver.
Great
wide receiver, and I love him, but he would have never been a number 1 on any other team. He was number 1 on our team.
All right, let's go to the next. Well, he played a long time in the league.
But he wasn't number 1 anywhere.
No, well, yes. One thing he's number 1 in is the longest catch in Super Bowl history. Still holds that record. Longest touchdown catch, should I say? Let's go to the next one. This one again. Now, you want to talk about getting people pissed off, Cody? This one sent them to a different universe.
I don't even see how it's controversial.
Because people don't like Ted Ginn, and I'm one of those people.
Dumb.
I'm one of those people, and I am working. I've been working very hard and long. I got this article that is coming out. I'm probably 3/4 of the way through, and it is titled "The Sad Story of Ted Ginn Jr. and the Carolina Panthers." And what I brought this up. People thought that I was making an argument that he should be the number 4 receiver. What I am trying to argue in this a question, this is a thought experiment right here, because somebody asked me who had the better career. And this was a long time ago. I went and started looking at it, and I was like, damn, Ted Ginn has actually been better than I gave him credit for in some cases. He's been in the league for a while. He's made a difference, right? Ted Ginn Jr. Is like kind of neck and neck in yards. It's really this. The Carolina Panthers wide receiver history is this. It's Steve Smith at 14,000 yards. It's Muhsin Muhammad at 9,000 yards. And then it's Greg Olsen and DJ. And then the list, it just falls off a cliff for yardage.
Yeah.
Devin Funchess has more yards than Ted Ginn Jr. and touchdowns. Kelvin Benjamin, right? So there's all of these things. All I could say is this, there is a realistic world where Ted Ginn Jr. is a top 5 all-time Panther or wide receiver, and I only count the years they played in Carolina because people say Ricky Prohl, then they go Mark Carrier, and these are players that have very good careers. Their notoriety largely came from outside of Carolina, though, not while they were here. You could say Keyshawn Johnson played for the Carolina Panthers
again, though, right? Like
no,
Ted
his
like
best season of his career was in a Carolina Panthers uniform
2015.
in 2015.
Okay.
His second best season in yards was he had one good one with the Saints, but he had 3 pretty good decent years with the Carolina. You could even argue Brandon LaFell. My whole point of bringing this up is that it got so many people upset, and that's the whole point I'm trying to make.
Mm-hmm.
Is that I have been going through, Cody, every team in the NFL, and right now I cannot find a team that has a worse wide receiving history than the Carolina Panthers.
Really?
Even there's an argument that the Jacksonville Jaguars have had as equally. Jimmy Smith was on a trajectory that was very close to Steve Smith's. He had said, like, there are always, it's just when we get to 4 and 5, I thought it would be the Bears. Even then, when it comes to yards, the Panthers have never been able to find an answer outside of Steve Smith and Muhsin Muhammad. And part of my article, guys, is that I really think this is why some of the emotion of the DJ Moore trade came up, is because he is really, I mean, I think there's an argument that he wasn't even that great in some ways, but he's the consensus number 3. It goes Steve Smith, Muhsin Muhammad, DJ Moore, and then we argue about 4, 5, and 6.
I mean, I just don't see what other person you can more reliably put ahead of Ted Ginn Jr. And yeah, I can already hear people, oh, you're a newer fan, Cody. You don't remember.
No. I mean, we got to say the name.
Panthers. Listen, I don't give a shit. I think that when you look, that's
exactly right.
When you look at those years between 2013 to 16 and 17 or 16, Ted Ginn Jr. is responsible for some of the most electric deep ball receptions in the history of the Carolina Panthers. And we're not going to take away that out of 2 times that the Panthers went to the Super Bowl, in one of those seasons that they did, Ted Ginn was the best receiver on our entire team that year. And if you want to say that as a testament to how good that season was for Cam Newton, yeah, that's right, you should. But that alone, you cannot ever take that away from Ted Ginn Jr. And to me, that enough is deserving of him being the number 4 on this list.
No, I don't disagree with you, because I can't think of 3 guys above him, to be truly honest with you, because we have a very, very, very bleak history with Carolina Panthers wide receivers. But I mean, even his best year wasn't like a number 1, like top wide receiver.
He wasn't even great. That's the sad part of this story, Greg.
God, I forgot.
There's one player who played in fewer games than Ginn. So all the players that had more yards than Ginn played more games. All the players that people are going to list that should have been better, Mark Carrier, but whatever, is that even if they had the guys that had more yards than him, Devin, they either played in more games or had less touchdowns. Curtis Samuel is up there. He even played more. Curtis Samuel played in more games than Ted Ginn Jr. for the Carolina Panthers. There's only one player who had more yards than Ginn and fewer.
It's actually embarrassing.
Yeah, it is. That's the sad story I'm trying to get across, is that this is not a hit piece. I even write it in the article. Yeah, is that the fact that we're arguing that there's an argument that Ted Ginn Jr. could be the number 4 receiver and he was average at best is horrendous. Kelvin Benjamin played in fewer games than Ted Ginn Jr., had more yards than Ted Ginn Jr., and only had one less touchdown.
Yeah.
Only one less touchdown. You are talking about names. Here is the thing that I'm trying to get to you guys, is that there are legitimate arguments to be made that the top 4 or 5 receivers in NFL history, Panthers history, count Brandon LaFell, Ted Ginn Jr., Kelvin Benjamin, and even Devin Funchess. This is when it gets, and this is quote, this is when it gets really depressing. I don't want this to be a hit piece on Ginn, but the simple fact that his name is in contention for a top 5 wideout means a lot. The only consensus outside the top 3 is mediocrity.
Agreed.
That's the only consensus, because people are going to say Mark Carrier. They're going to say Ricky Proehl, but Ricky Proehl had less yards, less touchdowns in Carolina blue. I'm not talking about, and here's the thing, is that guess who really the 3rd receiver in Panther history is?
Keyshawn
Greg
Johnson?
Olsen.
Well,
No, like, and I had to admit that I omitted
100%.
tight ends, but you really have Greg Olsen and Wesley Walls have more yards than all of those other guys.
If you're looking at other positions,
sad.
How about Christian McCaffrey?
Yeah.
Pretty damn good receiver for the Carolina Panthers.
I will push back on what you were saying earlier about Carolina having the worst offense or worst wide receiver core in their existence. That's not true. Baltimore Ravens have had the worst wide receiver core in the existence of the franchise.
Is that true?
Yeah, it is true.
Look it up.
They have never drafted a 1,000-yard wide receiver.
Here, I can show you this. Here is the all right. So, Greg, I understand you say that, but here I'm going to show you. They had Derek Mason, who had 5,700 yards.
Did they draft him?
It doesn't matter. This is only in games that he played for the Ravens.
Okay.
Right. So it doesn't mean. So he was a Raven. He got 5,700 yards and 29 touchdowns. Todd Heap's a tight end. Both of them, they're very similar to us. He played from 2005 to 2010. He killed it. Derek Mason was a beast. Todd Heap and Mark Andrews are their second and third, which is Torrey Smith had 3,500. Mark Clayton had 3,100.
Yeah.
Ray so they are the
like
ones.
us.
They're the very close. Even Steve Smith. Think about this: is Steve Smith is 11th in receiving yards for their team as a receiver. Like, that's insane. He only played 2 seasons with them. I thought some people said this. The one other, and I'll give you guys this one too, and I'll just show you this. I'm going to show you some of the research that I was doing. Is this as well? Somebody said the Bears. I did too. I thought, man, it's got to be the Bears. It's got to be the Jags. Let me hear. I'm going to share this screen real quick and just show you. And then I'll show you the Panthers numbers too real quick. And that is, what is that ad? Loomdeo.
At first I thought it was some Depends or something.
I know. I was like, what is she doing? It's butt deodorant.
Get that Karen out of here.
God, I can't. Oh, here.
My dick is where I start. Actually.
Wide receiver. See, Alshon was pretty good for them. Curtis Conway had more yards than Ginn, than Funchess, than LaFell. Touchdown. So, like, Curtis Conway had a better career in Chicago than LaFell, Funchess, Samuel, Benjamin. All of those 4 or 5 names. You get down Allen Robinson. So you have their numbers they might not be head and shoulders or better. I just want to show you, look, is Carolina real quick. And they're just sad. This is just a sad story here. And that is career receiving leaders look at this. It is right. It's 12,000. So he had 14,000 if you count his time in Baltimore. This is only in Carolina. So it's head and shoulders, Steve Smith, Masin Muhammad. We're going to omit Greg Olsen. Look, then it goes DJ Moore consensus, right? 21 touchdowns, 5,200 yards. But then you're talking about Mark Carrier, 2,500 yards, 13 touchdowns. Kelvin Benjamin, 2,400 yards, 18 touchdowns. LaFell, 2,300 yards, 13 touchdowns. Funchess. Now, people are going to say, look, they all have more yards. But look at the games played. 47 versus 53, 61 versus 47, 57, right? Benjamin is the only one that was putting up comparable numbers over a 3-year season. I think there's an argument. Hey, if you don't like top 4, would you say he's in the top 6? And that, guess what? This is a sad, sad song. That's all I'm trying to make the point of.
Oh, yeah.
It is not a defense of Ted Ginn Jr. because there is nobody harder on Ted Ginn Jr. than this guy. Because in an anecdote of this stories, guy, I remember I was watching the Miami's. Look, and I'll show you the story I'm working on. I got it going. This is like, I've been working hard on this, Cody. Is the sad story. This is the behind the scenes look of what we're doing, what I'm doing here is this. But look, is so I've got some stats coming. But here is what I'm talking about. I remember this like yesterday. In 2013, I was at a sports bar talking to a friend about how Speedy Ginn, how the Speedy Ginn had the potential to jumpstart the Carolina Panthers offense. Carolina happened to be playing the Dolphins that day. He had a big punt return, like a 40-yard. He showed off his speed. I was like, oh, we needed this. This is 2012. And a Miami fan sitting close by overheard the conversation and leaned in and simply stated, he's got stone hands. He wasn't trying to be mean, perhaps a bit direct, but he was only being honest. He was right. Ginn finished that day, by the way, with 3 catches for 11 yards on 10 targets.
Oh.
He was maddening. There might not be another player in the league who had so much potential when it came to size and speed and was so maddeningly it was almost in his head. It was like wide open, clunk.
Yeah, it was in his hand. I mean, like that was one of the things I wanted to say. I mean, if we want to talk about Ted Ginn, I mean, we've got to talk about the amount of times Cam Newton we had to defend him because his numbers looked bad, and we had to say, well, he had 15 drop passes by his receivers, and Ted Ginn on a regular basis would end up on Deion Sanders' little segment of, come on, man. Like,
who was it? Was it Deion that did that?
I don't know. It was somebody like that.
Yeah, it was. I'm pretty sure.
I thought it was Chris Carter.
No, anyway. it was that, but I think Deion had another one too that was like he would have one that was about the good stuff, but he'd also do like those bonehead plays, and like it was all like Ted Ginn was regularly featured there because it made Cam Newton like he wasn't an accurate quarterback.
Yeah. So look, let's hope this next generation of Panthers football gives us some better.
It's only one way.
And hey, I think right now we're moving in the right direction. But let's move on. So the Panthers just recently signed defensive tackle John Penisy. All right, dude. Position defensive tackle.
Penisini. Oh, that's a hard name. That's a hard name.
John Penisini. Okay, cool.
Oh, that was good.
Played with Utah, 6'2", 335 pounds. He's a big guy in the middle, and I think that this is going to be somebody that they'll sub in to play that zero tech to put right in the middle of our defensive line, sub out Derek Brown, and just really be that run stuffer in the middle that I think the Panthers are going to be looking for. To me, I think he's a solid depth piece. You boys have anything you want to say about John Penisy?
It's another one of these, third tier, style of players that might be a good depth piece, but it's not one that's moving the needle for me from an excitement standpoint. So
coming from Detroit, right? And the one thing I heard is this: he's only 25, but I heard that he came out of retirement. Like, I was like, God, so look, as we're signing some bodies to try to make this 3-4 work right now. I think that's what we're seeing right now is that some of these players are linked somehow. These defensive coaches or these offensive coaches have some sort of belief in these guys that they're going to be helpful in filling out their transition, because I feel like the offensive lineman we brought in from like Denver or something like that fits that. It's like, it's just like they see something in these guys that could help. And maybe you got to just have camp bodies. What's next?
Yeah. So next up, Eric Rowe was signed to the Carolina Panthers to be that veteran presence. Came from the Miami Dolphins. A lot of our fans, G Baby included, shout out G, is very high on some Eric Rowe. He's a veteran presence in the secondary. What do you think Eric Rowe is going to be for the Carolina Panthers, and what does his presence on this roster mean?
This is one of those really important signings to me, and I know Lucas like I wrote this and put it on the website, and you gotta, you're just churning content out. You're trying to, fill in the gaps. We talk about everything. We want all of these acquisitions to be great. Where, kind of we want Thielen to be great. We want all of this, but if you think back in the years that we have really seen the Carolina Panthers make a transition from pretty good to better, or from worse to better, they've brought in some veteran players that are able to contribute more than people give them credit for in some ways. If you think of 2013, I think of Mike Mitchell coming from the Oakland Raiders and becoming a really important, strong safety for our team. A guy that had so high. It was almost like he wasn't ever bad in the league. It was just that all of the hype and the potential, like he never lived up to the hype and the potential. So he really filled out well at Carolina. A guy that you were talking about on your Embrace the Debate show on Monday, Cody, Kurt Coleman is a guy that came in. Oh, you mentioned Kurt Coleman that year, an unsung hero that 2015 season. When Kurt Coleman came in, we watched that clip from him in coming from the Eagles where he got blasted by, I forget the running back. He got lit and he comes out bleeding and all of this. So he was kind of like an internet joke. And then he was like a good all around player, a Peanut Tillman, think of, and I'm not trying to say Rose on the level of this, Roman Harper, but guys that, what I like about this is I think that Eric Rowe, his versatility is going to be important. Right now, people believe he's coming in to be a potential backup safety. But what I think is he's fast enough, he's experienced enough. We have concerns on the at the cornerback position, and the concerns have a lot to do with health. The health of Dante Jackson, the health of J.C. Horn. We have kind of concerns about how is Xavier Woods. Is he getting right? I feel like this is a guy who's going to be like, if we need you to play the slot for the next month, you can play the slot. If you're going to play safety, you're going to play the safety. And I think that he's a good guy that could step in, and that versatility is going to be important, particularly because nothing ever goes as planned, guys.
It never does. It never does. But I've noticed that all the signings the Panthers have made, a lot of these lesser name guys, they've all been 3-4 specific guys. So with John, the Panisa guy we were talking about, you can tell he's going to be a nose tackle right in the middle of our D line. Now that we're in the 3-4, there's going to be a lot of times where we're going to have 5 defensive backs on the field. And I agree with Matt Knows Nothing that big nickel is going to be a very important part of our team now. And to me, that's what Eric Rowe is. He's going to be over the slot receivers, trying to cover the middle of the field, stop those in-breaking slants, and that's kind of going to be his job. And even then, to be honest, I could see him being more of a rotational guy in that aspect,
totally,
right? Because now, look how many mouths we have to feed, man. We have J.C. Horn. Whether you love him or hate him, we still have CJ Henderson on the team. They're not giving up on him yet. You have Dante Jackson. Nobody wants to hear from Keith Taylor's ass ever again, but sadly enough, we probably will. Yeah. So at a certain point, you're going to have to be able to substitute guys in at a moment's notice. And I think that's what Eric Rowe is going to be able to do for us. And he does have that veteran presence. So I think it benefits us.
All right, let's keep powering through.
Well, go ahead, Greg. You want to say something?
I was going to say, what's this guy's name? Eric Rowe. He's better than CJ Henderson. So go ahead.
There's a great clip of him talking shit, the offensive lineman. And like he's like trying to fight, it's like this little guy beside this offensive lineman. and he's talking junk to him, and the offensive lineman goes, "I don't even know who you are." He goes, "Hey, that's cool because I don't even know who you are either. So if I say like you suck too." I mean, it was fun. He's like, he's a guy that's going to be fun. I think he's a mentor type player.
A good locker room presence that you're going to need for a lot of young players. Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to shout this out too. We put up a brand new film room, the C3 film room. We've been putting out a bunch of those. We're going to continue to put out a bunch of those from now to here in the draft. I asked our buddy John from One Carolina to join me on a film session where we looked at some film from Bryce Young and CJ Stroud's 2021 film. And the fans are loving it, man. So I wanted to plug this and make sure that people went and looked out for it. Me and John from One Carolina did this. And that's on the channel right now. And all the super fans, they're going to get all access to this stuff first and foremost before everyone else. So for $1.99 a month, you can become a brand new super fan and get instant access to all kinds of badges, emojis, and premium content watching film as we lead up to the draft. And I do believe we might even do an Anthony Richardson film room at one point, and that's if the fans want it. So let us know if you would like an Anthony Richardson film room, and we can make that happen in the near future. CK, before we go any further, we've been doing this for a while now, and fans love to listen to us, and that's fine. They do love to listen to us, but we also know that we have a bunch of freak shows who come here for a lot of other reasons, man, and they're growing impatient. It's already 11:23, man. Give them what they want, Big Papa.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, you have joined in after an incredible interview with David Gettis, and then an hour later, we're talking about how we have the worst wide receiver history in the entire NFL. Seems a bit disrespectful, but you've come here to talk about it with the Carolina Panthers, about the Carolina Panthers with C3. So I have one thing to say to all you absolute freaks that have not hit that like button, who haven't hit that subscribe button, or heck, if you haven't even hit that share button, subscriber shame.
$163 people watching right now, 129 thumbs up. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell for every single time the C3 Panthers podcast goes live. Ladies and gentlemen, I am here to tell you that there is not another Panthers podcast that puts out as much content as us, man. C3 is cooking right now. We have people putting C3 in their usernames. C3 Nation is stronger than ever before, man. Hit that like button to help us beat up on the YouTube algorithm and help us get seen by more Carolina Panther fans all over YouTube. Let's move on to our next topic. It is now being rumored that Devin White, or not even a rumor, but Devin White wants to be traded from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Do you think that this is a good move for the Carolina Panthers? And I want to juxtapose that with this. I put this out on Twitter, and this is just my opinion. I said, I don't want Devin White. I don't want to give up any more draft capital to go get other players on other teams. I want to give our players a chance to shine. I think we don't even know what we have in Brandon Smith, who we drafted last year. I would like to see this man get a shot in the middle of Carolina's defense. Boys, what do you all say? Devin White or Brandon Smith?
So you're saying if they offer to trade White for Smith and a 4th round pick, you wouldn't take it?
This is a non-story, guys. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are not going to trade him to a division team.
Yeah, okay. I mean, you're right. I mean, that's not smart, but people don't do smart things all the time.
When's the last time I would be interested to see how many times in history there has been divisional rivals that have made trades between one another.
Yeah, it can't be a ton.
Then let's get him out of here. It's one less guy to worry about.
Yeah,
I'm
fine
all
with him
for
trading
being
him.
traded. Then if he's not going to come to Carolina, then I'm all for him being traded because he's not going to go in division. So
does he? I think hasn't he been in a 4-3 though the whole time? So does that even make us? I mean, I guess you know what is I'd rather have Devin White than Shaq Thompson. I'd rather have Devin White.
I was going to say Shaq Thompson
than Brandon Smith. I'd rather have him, but again, is this because a contract is on the horizon?
Right?
Is this because he wants to get? Look, I can understand people wanting to get out of Tampa right now.
That's a sinking pirate ship.
Yeah, I mean, as Baker's coming in. This poor, this house is burned down. I don't blame the guy for wanting to get out.
Yeah,
I just don't know if
you?
it's I think I kind of lean to what you're saying. I don't really even care about Brandon Smith. I do. I hope he's going to be great. Well, it's not like I'm like, oh, I don't want Devin White because of Brandon Smith. Right. I just don't know if Devin White is like, we don't need to get ahead of our skis right now.
Listen. Why is it that every other NFL team can find hidden gems in the later rounds except for the Panthers? We are never going to know what we have in these players until we play them. More importantly, I look back at last season at Terrace Marshall Jr., who wasn't getting any snaps until he was, and then he started to ball the fuck out. But nobody would have had any reason to believe that TMJ had any potential at all whatsoever if he hadn't had the opportunity to do so. I don't want.
Oh, TMJ had so much hype coming into the league. You guys were gushing over that dude from the beginning. That's a bad example.
Proven right,
Cody. I think that's a bad example.
I could also say that about Bradley Bozeman. Bradley Bozeman was a player that wasn't starting, and then once he finally
I agree.
Right,
Cody.
We have to play our young players, or we're never going to know what we have.
I'm fine with that. I'm not even arguing against you.
I agree with that. Play the young players, but at the same time, you don't invest your nest egg into a risky investment. Period. Like you invest your money into players you know are going to do well. Like that.
I just don't know if Devin White's a great fit for us right now. That's it.
What I'm saying.
It's that you're talking about
money into him.
You're talking about a guy who's going to command.
I'm not even talking about Devin White anymore. I'm just saying I want to see him get a shot. Because his athletic scores are incredible, man. They really are, one of a kind type of RAS scores.
Cody, the reason we aren't like ready to go that bold is because we've been pulling for these stories for so long. Even going back to David Gettis, to be honest, like we have these players that go, "Oh shit, this is like I'm telling you." If you would have been able to watch David Gettis that season, he was the only bright spot on the offense in that he had the best game of the entire season of any player. It was, and then I didn't mention it to him as 2 games after his 109 catch, 125 yard game, 2 touchdowns. I was at the Saints beatdown of the Carolina Panthers 34-3 or 33-3. And it was a long game. We stayed to the very end. We won a bunch of stuff because we're the only fans still there. Tickets were $40, $45 to sit on the 45-yard line in the 4th row. Yeah. It was. But here is the thing. We've been rooting for this from how many guys have we said this about? From, you could argue YGM. You could argue Christian, who is that? Something Christian, the guy that came out of Alabama, coming off the he was a defensive end. We've always been waiting for some of these dudes to break out. The closest we ever got was 2015. Ben Wickery, Trey Boston. They looked like they were going to be players in the league. We looked like, you know what? We thought we found those guys. We just haven't hit on them, Cody. So I think there's some PTSD, some shell shock that we go through with this.
But then you also have examples like Brady Christensen, who was the 3rd round pick. Guys like Andrew Norwell, who were undrafted, and he was an incredible part of that Panthers Super Bowl run at left guard for the Panthers. So, I mean, there's a ton that goes into this. If you look at his RAS scores of Brandon Smith, Homie had a 9.97, dude.
Yeah, he's super fast. He's big. He's more
6
exciting
foot
than
4, 250 pounds. He ran an incredible 40-yard dash. The dude has it, man.
he kind of is. This is crazy. Would his physical comp kind of be Micah Parsons?
Kind of like a poor man's Micah Parsons.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look. Hey, I want Brandon Smith. Yeah, I want new and young mixed with. I think we. The one thing I'm cautioning about my excitement level of this team right now is like I hope that I'm not just getting baited into expectations because we got a name Shark that sounded cool on the free agency. We got a name like Thielen that we've heard before. I just hope. I mean, I don't know. I want it to be a good, steady progression of a good build. I don't know if Devin White's a great fit, and I feel like he comes from a 4-3 off defense anyway. And the rest of here's one of the things is this.
So we haven't even done any cat calls yet. So let's power through these next couple. They all kind of run into one another. Jeff Okudah, the former 3rd overall pick in the draft, is now going to the Atlanta Falcons, man, to the division rival, only for a 2023 5th-round pick. The Falcons secondary now consists of Jeff Okudah, AJ Terrell, and Jesse Bates. Jeff Okudah is the 2nd player in the last decade to be drafted in the top 3 overall and traded less than 3 years after being drafted. The other was quarterback Sam Darnold, who was drafted by the Jets in 2018 and traded to the Panthers in April 2021. What do we make of that, man?
And
He's been
CJ
injured.
Henderson.
Yeah, I don't know why CJ Henderson isn't on that list, but
was he? He wasn't a top 3.
Yeah, he wasn't top 3 though.
He was like 6th though, right?
Yeah,
11. I think it was 11 in that year's draft. So, gentlemen, what do we think of Jeffrey Okudah going to the Atlanta Falcons?
I'll see what happens.
I got my biggest question, and I'll ask you first. Is you were real high on Okudah coming out of college, right, Cody?
I love this film. Yeah, he was great on film.
What's wild is that the Detroit Lions had a historically bad secondary last year. So and they are jettisoning him. They're trying to get better. They're saying this is addition by subtraction.
Right.
I'm not like is that I think if anything, it's very much like CJ Henderson, and that is the draft,
right?
Capital or whatever recognition just gives him a grace that doesn't exist from a guy that comes in the 5th or the 6th rounds. Like right now, his tape, his fit, what he's done, he was hurt his rookie year. He had all this. It's like I'm not sitting here going, "Oh God, I'm scared of the Falcons now."
Right.
Yeah, never.
But hey, would we have been upset if we would have gotten him for a 5th?
No, probably not.
Not at all.
But whatever. I mean, It is what it is. He's not scaring me. Tony, I'm going to let you take these next 2.
Yeah. One of the things I encourage everybody to go to CarolinaCatChronicles.com. If you want to write and contribute, you can contact me at CarolinaCatChronicles@gmail.com. I'm trying to rebuild. The website was the original genesis. It was the website, then the podcast. But then, the podcast became the bread and butter. And I tell you this is I put, 10 hours into that story on Ted Ginn Jr. and the sad story, and it's going to get like 25 views compared to if we put an hour and a half into a video in a podcast that's going to get like 7,000 views. But so this is a story I'm actually I feel like I've been on a hot streak in my ideas lately. I'm usually not my ideas don't appeal to the masses. So when I did the 10 greatest Panthers, like all of a sudden it really called on people to be a part of the discussion. Then I did the Ted again. This is one that came to me, and I was just thinking, man, how as this debate between CJ Stroud and Bryce Young has become more and more divisive among fans, more and more controversial. I was thinking back, I was like, what's the last really controversial draft class we had? And you go back to here to 2018, where Baker goes 1, Darnold goes 3. Then you get Allen. Then you get Lamar Jackson. There's some other names in there. And ultimately, they got it completely backwards.
Right.
Is that they should have taken Lamar, Allen, then the other guys, or Allen, Lamar, the other. So I went and I started looking into what are some of the most controversial quarterback draft classes in league history. And I got a list of 10. I don't know if it's perfect. What's really cool though is, one is cool is the Panthers are on it. The Panthers are on it from 2011. Is that there was a lot of debate about Locker, about Blaine Gabbert, or who I like to call Glane Babbert, and Cam Newton, and Carolina got it right. And so I went through and I tried to not only identify the top 10 quarterback controversies, but also reflect upon if they got it right. So we can go to look, is on this list was Tim Couch and Donovan McNabb. And Tim Couch went before Donovan McNabb. You can go to and so they got that one wrong. You can go to Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf. Peyton Manning goes first. They got it right. So what I went through is a cool one. The number 1 on the list is John Elway and Jim Kelly. And they arguably got it right with John Elway. So really cool. If you go to CarolinaCatChronicles.com, you can check out this story about the 10 most controversial QB drafts in NFL history. And look, that's a small way you can support us. If we can get some clicks on the website, if you accidentally hit an ad while you're up there, that helps. That's like a 50-cent donation. Just like click an ad. It's like giving us 50. Like that's like, because nobody clicks ads. So when you get a click, man, you get like 25 cents. I get like 1,000 views to get like 3 pennies. So,
yeah, man,
it's wild. And it's just crazy. And this is why I went to the podcast, Cody, is because the amount of work it takes to write stories and the return. People want the video content. They want the audio content. It slaps better. And one of the things that's on the website right now, though, the Panthers are going to be picking. They've got other picks than the number 1 pick. And you
believe it?
Yeah, you put up a list of 3 players that you think could be there at 39. Who were those 3 players? And if they want to read about it, they can go to the website.
Yeah. So listen, I put 3 players that I think should be in consideration for the Carolina Panthers at 39. And you see one of them right there, Zay Flowers. We talked about him a little bit earlier with David Gettis, and David spoke glowingly about him. And that would be a fantastic pickup. I don't even care that we've already signed a bunch of wide receivers. Go get someone as talented as Zay Flowers. And you want to know what? I'm not even going to tell you the other 2. If you want to find out the other 2, go to CarolinaCatChronicles.com and check out what I had to say about the other 2 fantastic defensive players that we could be drafting. 16 days left to go until the draft. Tony has been putting out these clips with former Panther players and their numbers. We're harkening back to Chris Winkie with this one.
This is a rough one. The Panthers had a top pick. What was it? It's Chris Winkie and Tim Biakabatuka. Those are like the people that, but Winkie lost his job. Look, Jake Delhomme beat him out in that final year. Winkie couldn't throw it downfield, man. Just couldn't. It was just one-eyed Winkie, just no arm talent or shell shocked. I don't know. It was kind of like Jimmy Clausen.
Did you really say one-eyed Winkie?
Yeah, that's what I always called him. One-eyed Winkie.
Sorry.
All right. But yeah, I've been doing that. So you can go back and check 19 days. That was the Ted Ginn. That's where it got me thinking about Ted Ginn Jr. as I did the 19 days, the number. And tomorrow is 15. And that is, Jake Delhomme was what? 16, 17? I don't even know who's tomorrow. Who's number 15 in Panther history? I'll go back.
17, wasn't it?
Yeah. So anyway, so fun stuff. Let's go to the cat calls, Cody.
Yeah. If you would like to be a part of the discussion, leave a message for us at 252-228-5098. Let's hear what Panther Nation has to say.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
What's up, C3? It's P-Dubs. It's been a couple weeks or so since I called in.
P-Dubs?
Topical question tonight is, have we done enough offensively? We've made a number of just terrific signings, Thielen, Sanders.
Oh, we forgot to talk about Miles.
But is it enough is what I'm really wondering. And if the view is no, can we sign D-Hop? I have to think that we could somehow get creative with the salary cap space needed and sign him to a longer contract. And if not, what are we going to do at 39 in the draft? I mean, I think we all know that we need another edge presence and threat. And I don't think we've seen the best of Brian Burns. As good as he is, I think once we have somebody else on the other side, I mean, it is just going to free him up. Anyway, I'm just curious. I feel like we've got another big move in free agency, and I'm just, dying to know what Fitz is thinking right now. I feel like we've got one good pickup in the draft at 39. I'm not too sure what we're going to get with the other picks, but we still got 2 or 3 holes. So anyway, looking for your thoughts.
It almost feels like it's got to be defensive end.
Why do you say that?
I don't know. I feel like is that the linebacker adding just too many to the stable. Brand, I don't know. Is like, then maybe you could say a corner, because I mean a corner would be a good pick. But
wouldn't you almost say BPA though?
I mean that's what you're hoping for.
You say defensive end, but what if there's no good What if
we just don't have 2 defensive ends right now? We only have 1.
Right, but would you pass up a guy? Would you pass up a cornerback who is superior to a defensive end just to have another guy on the other end that's maybe a YGM?
I'm not ready to give. I know everybody shits on YGM, but like, look, it's year 3 that players at defensive end that aren't freaks show out. So this is his. If YGM isn't a contributor this year, then I get it. But that's the other thing. You're right, Greg. Is just getting those guys in the draft isn't going to do anything for a bunch of time. You know what I'm saying? It's still going to be time. Maybe you're right. Maybe it is a linebacker. I think that Cody. Let's just talk about DeAndre because we mentioned the 3. Have we done enough offensively? Would DeAndre Hopkins be putting too much expectation on us, or would that be really just putting the rookie quarterback in a great position?
Well, I don't know. And then another discussion point that went along with DeAndre was he doesn't practice much because he's had a bunch of injuries before. They want to make sure that he's healthy for game day. And I believe that you really want to make sure that if you are going to have a young quarterback, that you're going to be able to build that connection with him during the week in practice. I don't know if you would be able to do that with DeAndre Hopkins, but listen, to have that kind of talent, yeah, we're a better team with him than without him, man. And if you have a quarterback that can reliably get him the football, to me, it's a no-brainer. I would love to do it, but our recent signings, to me, make that less and less of a possibility now.
All right. Pull up Anthony's super chat as I pull up this.
Dude, I'm looking. I thought I saved it. I'm gonna pull it up from the C3 channel. If I can't find it, you know I got you, Anthony.
Right,
go to the next call and I'll pull it up.
Yo, it's your boy. Once again, Ron Tomney from North Charleston, South Carolina. Keep pounding, y'all. I'm a huge fan of the podcast. I love it. Never stop listening, y'all.
Thank you.
I just had a quick question about today. Today, breaking news at NFL, I think yesterday, Odell Beckham Jr. went to the Ravens on a 1-year deal worth $18 million. Do you think this might pump the Panthers to looking at other of the available free agencies and running back and receivers to add more depth to the rushing game and passing game of blocking at catching and rushing? Or do you think they're going to stand still and keep adding on the defense line, the O-line first, to make sure we get the much-needed depth that we need as a team and go forward with a plan to draft a quarterback at number one? Or do you think about the other people out there, like Kareem Hunt is still available, Sigurd Elliott is still available? What do y'all think will be the game plan here? Do we go with the quarterback in the draft, or do we wait to see if we can try to do sign a trade with another team for another player? I just went to offense here and I look at line with these rumors around and I don't know, what do y'all think should we do and why, and how much do you think money should be spent or saved with these signees and or draft picks, or how do we keep pounding from on and make the team even better? Thank you and have a good day.
And thank you for the call. Thank you for the support. I like this is I think that the Odell story is interesting. Now we can skip this in the news later. Does this suggest that Lamar's coming back? Some people said this means that Cam could go to Baltimore because he's tight and he was throwing with Odell the other day or something like that. I'm kind of, and I'm leaning towards this, Cody, is it's not the practice thing for DeAndre Hopkins and adding more there. I think this is, let's shit or get off the pot with Terrace Marshall Jr. Let's go out there and give him the opportunity to be a number two or number, you know what I'm saying? And just instead of having this time where there's always going to be a guy ahead of him that's kind of blocking his entry point to the league, but also that guy that's ahead of him isn't going to be a long-term answer or in the future plan. So if you bring in DeAndre Hopkins, you're talking about a 2-year player at the most for the Carolina Panthers or something, I would think, in that it's kind of like, let's try to figure out who the hell we got in Terrace Marshall Jr., or now we know next year to go all in on a younger wide receiver in the free agency, or, really start like targeting a top 10 wide receiver in the draft. You're muted.
No, I said I echo the same sentiments, man. I want to see what we have in Terrace Marshall Jr. If you're a Panther fan, do you not want to see the ceiling of what Terrace Marshall can do? I know I sure as hell do. And I think that him and DJ Chark are very complimentary players. Two tall, fast receivers. I love it.
Can I be honest? Like, I don't see what you see in TMJ, to be honest with you.
You haven't had enough time to see.
I see the possibility of having some good games, but I don't see this guy you guys are talking about. Now, I could be wrong, and I hope I am. I just don't see it, though.
Well, you haven't had an opportunity. Like, he hasn't played. Like,
so then why can you argue that he's worth it?
Well, like, I'm saying this
if
is
you can
we
argue
invested a
played,
second.
why can you say he's?
I'm saying we need to figure out if he is or not. But just having or else it's a wasted second round pick.
Yeah, not big enough sample size.
Be what it is.
It's just like this. It's just bringing in guys to negate dudes you drafted. It's just hurts. It's like this. It's like you just at some point you need to figure out if that draft pick. And like we heard is that, you don't really see this in training camp enough. I think you can't be successful without opportunity. And that's just what I'm figuring here. Hit him up with his super chat.
Yeah, man. My guy, Anthony, C3 Anthony Picarello says film session was lit with Cody. Thanks for inviting me to do it. Check them out if you haven't. I'm going to Bank of America for the draft.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go. Yeah, they've announced that they're going to be opening up
the stadium.
Yeah.
That's like when who called in the show that year from the draft, and we picked Brian Burns. They called in the Brian Burns pick. It's gonna come to me in a second. Let's go to the next call.
What's up, C3? This is Mike from Clemens, calling with a unique perspective. There's all this debate as if we should draft CJ Stroud or Bryce Young, but will we even be debating if Bryce Young was 6'3" and was allowed to wear a jetpack and cover his uniform with Vaseline? Would we be debating if Bryce was 6'1" ½ inch tall and had electrified pads so that he could electrocute pass rushers like he was Blanka from Street Fighter? Would we be debating if Bryce was the same height, was allowed to carry a broadsword to defend himself, and was given immunity from criminal prosecution or any game penalties if he stabbed a defender to death in a game? I think not. Listen, I'm cool with Stroud or Young. Tepper's put together an elite coaching staff. Bitterer is going to put some good pieces in place in the draft, and the future is bright, my friends. Keep pounding.
Dude, that is the call of the night. That's the call of the night to me. And I love it too, man, because I also hate the what ifs. Oh, like, oh, well, if he was 6'5", he'd be the number one.
Oh, yeah.
He's not.
But we
He's
can what if
right.
everything.
That's what I'm saying. That's the reason why we're arguing that point, is because he's not. So I just don't understand.
If Ohio State's kicker makes a kick and beats Georgia, they go on to smash TCU like the Bulldogs did.
You worded that well, by the way.
If the Ohio State defense stops Stetson Bennett, who had a terrible first half, in the second half, from keeping them in the game and getting them back in the game, CJ Stroud is a consensus number one. He had such a good game that he kind of doubted. He shook. So that's the thing, is for every what if for Bryce, we can do a what if for Stroud. And I like the call though, like the call a lot. And here's the thing is that it's not up, is we're waiting to see what we're going to see how much the Panthers think that processing versus size is, or if they see something in CJ Stroud that people maybe aren't giving credit for. Let's go to the next call.
Then I got something to show you.
Hey guys, this is Panther Pickle. Reading a little bit today on Twitter this evening, and people are talking about the Smith could be the linebacker instead of trading for a guy named Devin White, who's a Buck, who they ain't going to trade him to us anyway. So just drop that damn idea. But I also got to thinking today, and I don't think a lot of people realize it, but you know what? In reality, none of Matt Rule's guys that he drafted could be worth a crap. They really couldn't. You talk last year, we know that Icky got a lot of playing time, but let's be bluntly honest. Matt Corral, Brandon Smith, and Mario Barna, even my man Cade Mays and Kalen Barnes, all could suck. I don't even think Kalen Barnes is on our roster anymore. I think he's on with the Vikings now. But Cade Mays, as much as I like him, he got some time on the field last year, but most of that was at fullback. It's the last game of the year. He played some good guard, but I mean, none of them guys could be on our roster. It wouldn't shock anybody. You know, the year before that, you had J.C. Horn, Terrence Marshall, Brady DeChristensen. They look pretty established. Tommy Trimble seems to be a good guy on special teams. Brandon Chubb's all right. Nixon's already gone. Keith Taylor should be gone. Dante Brown's spent his entire career so far on practice squad. I have doubts he'll even make the 50s. I mean, I have doubts he'll even make the training camp roster. Shi Smith, there's questions of whether he'll be on the roster or not. I mean, it just goes without saying, you know? And so we should no way not draft a player or sign a player or fill a position, even if we have Brandon Smith on the roster, even if we have Mario Barno on the roster, or even K Mays, because you know what? If they are meant to be in the NFL, they could hold off the competition we bring in. All right, that's just fact. And Brandon Smith and Mario Barner was always thought to be a long-term development prospect. So, you know, should we cut him now? No, of course not. But you know, don't not do something just because they're on your roster, because the last thing we want to do is say Brandon Smith's our guy. He's the main guy we look for, and the season comes and he's a big pile of crap, and we're stuck with no linebacker.
Tell that to Mac.
Or signing
that you can beat
another piece of crap that nobody else wants anyway. So, but y'all take care, and Panther Pickle, and I'll see you on the side.
Panther Pickle, you're the man, brother. You know we love you. Listen, I gotta show you guys something, dude. We have the best fans. Okay, it's not even a question. We have the best fans.
I love this.
We
literally get my feels. Come on, I'm ready.
We literally interviewed David Gettis tonight. He told an incredible story about him and John Beeson I'm not going to play the music, but our boy Promise Panda on Twitter already made this, man, and it's incredible. Greg, you're going to love it, dude. David Gettis' first practice. He's running. Gettis thinks he's going to score because of his speed. John Beeson covering Gettis in practice. Gettis realizing Beeson, a middle linebacker, can keep up with him. Oh, shit.
Right. Look, Panda is in my podcast all the time, and I really appreciate it. I'm sure this had something to do with it. And I appreciate it. Very, very well done. Very,
Dude,
very well
Panda,
done. Perfect scene to put that.
Was incredible,
I love
brother.
it.
Very well
done.
done.
We have the best fans.
It's so good. We're
The
really, I'm
best
telling you, this
fans.
is our year, dude. This is our year. I feel like we've all the hard work that we've put in, and it's not a celebrate us thing. It's just like, if you start this type of game, and I'm going to put this out to podcasters, content creators, all the world, it's a long slog to get the return that you think, right? Is that it's a hard, and so it's just really, I'm just glad it, like, even with the website, man, I'm refusing to quit on it right now. It's just like, I could have probably just invested all that time into the podcast, but you know, it's just, if you want it all to pay off on day one, life's not like that. And right now, I think this is the year that things like, look, we had Jonathan Stewart, David. I think we're going to hit this. We're getting the calls, the momentum point, the gang. We got the gang going. We need to start organizing the draft party. That's what we got to get on. Guess, because look, we can't talk about the first pick all night, right? I mean, I know we'll feel like it. People will be calling about it. But one of the things we do throughout is we like to bring in and talk about other teams and other things and make it fun like that. So start working on that guest list. Thank you to all the fans. Let's go to the next call.
What is up, C3? It's Anthony from Charlotte, but today it's Anthony from the Outer Banks. I'm currently at the Outer Banks, man, at the beach. But just wanted to say what's up to my main guys, Cody, CK, Greg, and Tony. But yeah, same conversation we're always going to have, except I'm officially locking in my pick. Bryce Young will be the first pick in the NFL draft to my Carolina Panthers. Let's fucking go. I always knew he was the pick. He's amazing. He processes so quick. He's quick he's just quick in the pocket, makes quick decisions. His arm's pretty good. This is who we need, man. And it's not surprising to me at all that all this stuff is coming out now from literally everyone. Even Will Kunkel said the dude impressed in his interview, his top 30 visit. The odds shifted to him. Now he's minus 300 to be the pick for us. I knew this all along, man. I knew that just because Josh McCown was chopping it up with CJ Stroud, that didn't really change what I had in mind, because Josh McCown isn't the coach. And people from Panthers on Top, shout out them. They even talked to Fitter last November, and they said that Fitter said that Bryce Young is special. I always had a feeling that if we got to this spot, he would be the guy we take. So yeah, I'm locking my pick in now. And I got him at plus 150 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook. So yeah, man, that's all I got to say. Just a happy Panthers fan. And listen, I do want to say I would be fine if, surprisingly out of nowhere, CJ Stroud was the pick. I'm completely fine with that. I just think Bryce with this coaching staff is a match made in heaven. I think he can do so much. And shout out to John from One Carolina. I don't know if he's going to be listening tonight, but he makes a lot of great conspiracy points. When we signed Miles Sanders, it told me that we were going to run a lot of pistol and shotgun formation. And as you can, if you look up the statistics, 66% of the NFL quarterbacks have ran shotgun last year. The number has been going up ever since the 1950s or whatever. So yeah, that's all I got to say. I truly believe Bryce Young's the pick. And if you don't believe that, fight with me. You know where to find me. No, JK, I'm just joking. But love y'all boys. Appreciate the work you do as always. Anthony from Outer Banks, keep motherfucking pounding.
Yeah, that's my boy Anthony, man.
I think Greg asked this earlier. I think that if Bryce Young is the pick, I'm going to be more excited than if it's Stroud.
I agree.
Really?
Yeah, and here's the reason why is that one is it's going to tell me that the hype around his intangibles, processing, all of this isn't hype, that it's like really
How is that going to tell you that?
Because the team endorses that idea.
That just means you're believing what the team believes. That he hasn't
Well,
proven anything.
no, okay. Well, no, I mean, like what I'm saying is that it's not just fans saying it; it's that the team is putting their stamp on that thing,
and they have so much more access to obviously to him as a player, the film, the understanding. They have access to all of his coaches from high school to college to junior high, if they wanted to go back as far. They have as much information as you can possibly ask for, from scores on these ridiculous tests that they've decided to come. Like, they have so much stuff at their disposal, and if they make and to the point, and I think it's important. This is why it's so exciting about Bryce Young, right? Bryce Young is being considered the top pick. And this is like the hype around him. It wasn't even nearly the same hype around Baker Mayfield. Like it was a crapshoot between Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield, but nobody considered them to be like elite. They're going to be coming in and taking their team to the playoffs, right? I'm not saying that's what they're saying about Bryce, but the argument here is Bryce is small, and they still are putting these same types of the draft grades on this guy.
Right. I agree.
I think that that part is the part that I think is hard to overlook, is that it's not just one person. It is a majority of people out there that have reviewed the tape between these two guys that believe that Young is the better quarterback.
And here's my final point on that, Greg, is that it's that on one hand, and the other hand is this: if we take Stroud, there is going to be a contingent of Panther fans and a contingent of the NFL world that said that it wasn't the right pick. Right. And every time something goes wrong, they're going to go, we told, and it's not that it's not that
they're going to do that no matter what, vice versa.
I don't think the Stroud fans are going to be able to do that as much, because Bryce comes in with like the expectation that he's like, I just think this is that Stroud will have to exceed people's expectations, and then Young will have to live up to them. So I just think my initial excitement is going to be like this: is I feel like all of a sudden, if Stroud's the pick, you better get your Twitter swords out, folks. We're going to have to defend him for the end of time, especially if Bryce Young's good.
I mean, I just don't know. Like I said,
that's just it. It's
yeah.
All right, let's go to the next call.
What's up, everybody? Devin back again, and I'm here to talk about the QB thing, which is probably the hottest topic right now amongst Panther fans. And I just wanted to come and say that I'm still on the CJ train. I know that a lot of people who are Bryce Young fans are going to say, keep or dream on. It's Bryce Young all day now and everything. And I'm not fazed by it. I'm going to stay Team Stroud until I see that pick. And I've said again many times, I keep having to bring it up. I'm fine with Bryce too, but I prefer Stroud, and I'm going to be Team Stroud up until the draft. And it's going to be hard for that to change for me. And it's like I said, until that pick is announced by Roger Goodell, I'm not changing my opinion. And if I'm being honest, I think it's crazy that some of the things that people are saying about CJ too, especially the Lombardi dude. Cody, I saw you tweet about this today, and that is that he's literally saying something that definitely is not true about CJ. That some people are saying he's not coachable. That's ridiculous.
It's so stupid.
I see CJ as being a guy who is all in for getting help to be become better, to learn how to be better. He is willing to learn from coaching. And I just find it ridiculous that people are just, or at least that dude is saying this. And yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous. I don't think he should say that. But yeah, I just want to come on here and say this. Still the CJ train. I still personally think he'll be the pick. And yeah, I mean, it's getting exciting times. Almost 2 weeks away from the draft. We're getting ready. We're almost there. We'll find out who it truly will be. And the key word is truly, because we still don't. Nobody knows. As somebody said on 99.9 Fan ESPN, a couple guys on one of their podcasts said nobody knows still, and I think that's true. But yeah, guys, thanks for having me on. Keep pounding. Let's go.
Keep pounding. Thank you, Evan. Yeah, Lombardi's on someone's payroll, dude. And listen, he's been a big fan of Bryce Young for a while, and he always has good things to say about Bryce. And he never really has great things to say about CJ. Oh, and how funny now he's not coachable. Like, dude, what is this? That clip was such bullshit. I don't believe absolutely any of it. I think it's a part of the smear tactics. And I'm not with it, man. And I completely understand people that are still on Team CJ Stroud. I understand all those reasons, man. A bigger arm talent. I think he throws the most beautiful ball out of every quarterback prospect in this year's draft. Yeah, I would be happy with either of them, but I'm not down with the intentional trying to tank CJ Stroud stuff.
Yeah, it's somebody. I mean, I think the Colts are paying him off. Let's go to the next call.
What's up, C3? It's JJ back with another call for you.
JJ?
I was listening to the podcast that Tony uploaded late from like 2 weeks ago or whatever, and a few things, when he was complaining about how all the Bryce Young fans and how they're complaining, saying like Alabama has such a lack of wide receivers. If we take Bryce Young, which I'm completely fine with, and let's say he has a bad game or whatever, I don't want to fucking hear that excuse that, we have some bum ass receivers. Because if that's going to be one of your points as to why we should take him, for him to get it done at the college level with lesser talent than CJ Stroud, then I don't want to hear that as an excuse whenever he's playing for the Panthers. Second, Tony, please get the fuck over Lamar Jackson. It was never going to happen. We never should have. It doesn't matter. Next topic. And then the last thing, in terms of Bryce Young, when I watch Bryce Young, I can't be the only one who just laughs sometimes. Like, it's kind of like you just see this little guy, and when he runs around and he makes a play and scrambles upfield, and he puts on his little juke moves, it's like the smallest guy on the field sometimes is like the best player, and it's kind of cool, it's just so, I don't know, adorable in a sense, but yet, like, I don't know, I just think it's funny. It's just like, go Bryce, go, because he's just so little compared to everyone else on the field, so, I mean, like, if that's my quarterback, I'm cheering go Bryce, go every time. But G-Baby had the funniest nickname for him, called Glock 9. So his 5'10" ass is getting called Glock 9 from now on if he's wearing that black and blue come April 27th.
You were saying that about Matt Corral.
I don't really have anything else to say, though. I hope you all have a good week. Thank you, C3. Everybody in the chat and watching, like, comment, and subscribe to C3, man. Join the Friday Free Fall as well. We trying to grow this podcast. You guys work so hard.
Man, we appreciate it, man. We thank you.
Have a good one. Keep pounding.
You call into the show. You listen to the show. It's wonderful for the support.
This is perfect. This is perfect right here for I feel. Perfect.
I mean, he can assess the defense so well. That was my tweet. I've been on fire this week. I've had one of my best runs on Twitter.
To Tony. You've been fucking killing it, brother.
In a minute. All right, let's go to the next call.
Hey.
What up,
G? You know who the fuck it is. Booyaka, booyaka, booyaka! I know it's been a while, boys. I know it's been a while. Been on my OT shit. Follow me on Twitter and whatnot. You know what's going on. I don't really need to explain, but Panther Nation, I'm back in that jet black, baby. What's good, CK? What's good, Craig? What's good, the professor? And what's good, Mr. Cody? What's good with my motherfucking dogs, man? It's fucking beautiful out here in Utah, G. Beautiful fucking sunsets. I'm feeling real good, you dig? I'm feeling real fucking good, man. Oh, man, Panther Nation is bright. Oh, man. You know who the fuck this is? Huh? Do you know who the fuck this is? Hey, baby, who the fuck are you? I got a little stuff for you, too, G. JJ, what's good with your ass, man? What's good with the Panther fucking faithful, baby? Oh, we're back, baby. Oh, man. I have so much on my mind. Bryce Young, we already know the truth, is going to be the number one pick of this 2023 fucking NFL draft. We got the 39th pick. What I would like to do is, continue to build the wall. Continue to build the wall. Add another couple of bricks to the wall. Why the fuck not?
I love
you dig? Why not, man? We got two guards coming off season-ending injuries. We got Austin coming off the ACL. We got Brady Christensen coming off a fractured ankle. It ain't going to hurt no one if we add another lineman. But like I said, if those special players are still there at pick 39, the Zay Flowers of the world, I know you guys are high on him. I fucks with Zay as well. The Jahmyr Gibbs of the world, the Bijan Robinsons of the world. If they're there, obviously we have to pull the trigger. But what's happening, man? What's going on, motherfucking Prophet Grace? What's going on?
I love it when G's excited, man.
I'm back in that fucking jet black. Hey, everyone, grab a glass of anything. I don't care if you got alcohol, water, anything. On the count of three. One, and put your pinky up. 1, 2, 3. Cheers.
Hey, cheers.
Love it. No, you know what? I don't hate that at all. We coined the build that wall. Look, is here. Just think of Luke Kuechly. Oh, I wanted to ask. I didn't remember when Gettis was talking about the John Beeson moment. I think in 2010 he was coming off of a Achilles injury. It was either 2010 or 2011 that he was coming off the injury. And this is, maybe I'm the only one that's going to remember this. Anytime that I see people coming off an injury and they're overtraining in the off season, I get nervous. We saw this with Christian McCaffrey. Right. He was like, and you're like, oh God, he's going to be awesome. Look at how healthy he is. Boom, hurt. John Beeson had this video where he was like climbing sand mountains on the beach with like a bungee cord attached to him. And you're like, oh shit, Beeson's right. And then it's like hurt right away. We didn't think that we needed Luke Kuechly at that time. And I think that what I don't want us is to rest on the laurels of last year's success on the offensive line. It was pretty good. It was better than we're accustomed to. Was it great? I'm not ready to go that far. And I know what you like, Cody, is one of the things is we like verification. We all have a degree of verification bias in our opinions.
Oh, yeah.
So I think this is that you believed in Brady Christensen. We all saw him getting the snub for whatever reason it was. And it was nice to see him. We saw him do better than the people that he was snubbed for. I think people, when it comes to Cade Mays, I think the people who believe he's going to be good or is and can compete and play, I think they thought that from the beginning. right? It's like, I mean, like, what is it that I'm not saying that he's not going to be, but I have no real reason to believe that he will or won't be at this point.
Right.
I think this, and dude, in that creator chat, I gotta ignore that shit sometimes or all the time. These guys, they don't, first of all, they zero care about anything I say, which is fine. But somebody goes this, man, we got Moten and Aquanu. We gonna roll. And I was like, dude, you guys shit on Moten all last season. Shitted on him. And you know what? To be honest, Moten has declined every year for the last 3 years.
Dude, in that chat, there's so much Brady Christensen slander. It drives me insane, man. It drives
you
me.
Can't rest on your laurels, is my point.
Right.
Is I want those players. I want those players to do well. I hope they're going to do well. But we got to keep building and building and building. And you know what? Is we especially, and you brought up a great point, Cody. This was not, I don't know if this was last week where you said if Bryce Young's the pick, what I like about it is it's going to force us to continue to invest in the offensive line like they did for like a Tom Brady.
Yes.
And the problem was Drew Brees. We left Cam out there. We always said this. Just Cam, you can do it. We're going to give you the law firm. We're going to give you Britton
he'll be all right.
Yeah, you can handle it because you're better than everybody. But then we need a player like that's better than everybody that also is put in a place to maximize that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we definitely need to. And I have no problem if you want to further solidify the trenches. I like Brady Christensen. I think he did good at that left guard position. Austin Corbett will be back.
You might be starting to talk about him at right tackle, though, Brady Christensen.
And you know what? I'm not even mad at that because he does have the athletic ability to play tackle. But by the way, speaking of athletic ability, this is Zay Flowers.
This is the video, dude. This is right here. This is where I decided.
This is Zay Flowers, man.
Nobody can guard that. There's nobody in the world. Look at this move. Up. See you later.
Dude, that change of direction is insane,
it's
man.
Insane. This is what I was talking about.
That's also no pads, no defense.
Dude, Greg, go watch Boston College and watch this man do this every single game, brother. He does it all the time.
You can just do that on every play.
I would love for him to. I really would. Yeah.
You could do that on every play, and it's 4 yards.
Go get the next version of Steve Smith, baby. Let's do it, man. Come on. We have to. We don't have DJ Chark for 1 year.
David Gettis said, Steve, that's bold. He went out and said it, too.
Yeah, man. Someone that played with Steve.
That was bold.
Someone
all right, let's
played with Steve and had to prepare for Zay.
That one video, Cody, because I don't love these receivers. They're all undersized. They're all pretty good, but not great.
The NFL doesn't either. The rumors are that not a lot of them are valued very high.
But that's like a Brandon Cooks type player.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, is that this? And the one thing is the league is built for those guys now. 10 years ago, you could get your hands on them. That's the thing is the only way you're going to defend Zay Flowers is to get up on the line and get on his ass and bully him. Because that right there is creating space. He is going to create space no matter what. No matter how good you are, there's no way you can turn that fast.
And like
he has the advantage because he knows he's about to turn. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he's gonna. But and if you got Bryce Young and he knows that's what's coming, he's just gonna throw it there.
Dude, that's like peanut butter and jelly, baby. That's meant to go together. And by the way, like Trey Burnett says, he was the only bright spot for Boston College. The team was trash. It was terrible. So, yeah, dude, I think he has a ton of potential. I would love that pick.
All right, a couple more calls.
Unit. Hey, I gotta give a shout out to Mr. Gettis, man, for coming on the fucking show. Hey, y'all pulled that shit off. That is pure fire, man. That shit was fucking fire, boys. I can't believe y'all pulled that off, man. Just us the segments Hey, just I appreciate this fucking podcast. Hey, man, from the bottom of my heart, bro, I gotta take the time to just give a shout out to C3, man. Hey, y'all are fucking family. Y'all my fucking niggas, G.
Love you, G.
Y'all my niggas. I'm not gonna play, man. Y'all my motherfucking dogs. Y'all are fucking family, bro. And I'm giving a shout out to Panther Nation. I'm gonna be in Carolina this fucking coming season, man. I will be in Carolina, G baby, and the fucking staff's gonna be out there. We're gonna be out there for a 3-day trip. It's probably gonna be at the beginning of September, hopefully, against the Texans. We're gonna be out there. But once again, shout out to the fucking whole C3 family for just embracing me. I can be an asshole. I can be in my feels. I can cry and bitch and moan all the time. But honestly, it's coming from my heart because I love the franchise, man. I love the organization. I love my black and blue. You dig? Hey, shout out to my motherfucking dog, Anthony. It's been me and you to stay fucking one, the truth, baby. And man, to stay one over 3 years, my motherfucking nigga. Fucking talking about sports nuts you stealing. Hey, shout out to motherfucking C-Dog. You still the fucking goat, nigga. I haven't forgot about my nigga. What's good to all my motherfucking dogs, G? I'm back in fucking Jet Black. I'm here, C3. Y'all are motherfucking family.
I love G Baby because I feel like I understand him.
Yeah,
people. I think this is like, look, I just like the diversity of personalities that we get in this show. I love that people have the backbone to speak their opinion.
Yeah,
I mean, does he come off a little abrasive at times? Sure.
But hey, that's who he is. We don't ever tell, like you said earlier, Tony. We don't tell people how to fan. Okay, this is a podcast for the fans, by the fans. Fans have lots of varying opinions. Hell, me, Tony, Greg, and CK have a bunch of different opinions. If you haven't already picked that up.
I mean, Cody can make. He's like a third on the list of making me mad in my life. It's like my wife, my mother, and my wife are a tie, and then it's like Cody.
Bro, here's the thing with G-Baby. Like, if we were sensitive, like, number one, G-Baby would have been banned if we were one of these but not even just G-Baby. Let's talk about one of our other faithful members, and that is C-Dog, that he talked about in the call. Like, C-Dog came in here and he was like troll number one and just stuck around. Like, and now he is like a valued member of the C3 super chat. I mean, the chats and of the
oh, dude, he's he's one of our greatest supporters.
Yeah, it's that's the thing is, like, it is a family, and it's also understanding we are on the internet. People might be fast to type or get emotional or whatnot, and that's okay. But to completely write them off as somebody who's not valuable to us or to this community is absolutely detrimental to what we're trying to do here. And we are all fans. We've all had the emotions at the end of a game where it's just been a horrible day, and I have no problem with any of the people in our chat, man. It's been thrilling.
The only I've fretted with this over the years is like how hard in the paint do you go with the language, right? But you know what? I love off-color joke more than anybody. Yeah. I make the worst. You guys are like, you call me 14. Everything has some sort of sexual connotation. Like, you know what? I just decided this is that, like, that's not what I want the show to be. A regular, I do, I'm sad sometimes that we get people like, Connor, as you're like, somebody messaged me one time. They're like, dude, I have trouble listening to the podcast in the car with my kids. I understand that. And, and I worry, I've been concerned about that in the past. Like,
we're not bad though.
No. Well, sometimes I've gotten loaded on this show.
Can I interrupt this to give you an actual family message? How about my mama, Rhea Lashley, in the chat, just gifted 10 new subs.
Nice.
Yeah, we didn't have a lot. We had tonight. We had gifts tonight.
Shout out to my mama, bro. Shout out to my mama, man. Sean Hume, Anthony Montgomery, CJ Hemlock, Jordan Roberts, Jorge Marcelo, Always Mosley, Chris Mortensen, and Emmanuel are new members of the C3 Super Fan.
That's wonderful.
Club. Oh, and Volguy 23, man.
I think that's one of the best donations to the show is when you gift it to someone else, right? Is it kind of helps everybody wins on that one. But so good. Just back to the last thing I want to say about me fretting with the language and the kind of tone. I just decided this is that I've always said this is I want us to feel like we're riding in the car to the game and back talking shit. And you know what? When we're in the car, we making them off-color jokes. We doing that. You know what I'm saying? So I just said this is, you know what? I don't even care. I'm not going to take myself that seriously where I'll be like, oh, you know, it's just like, this is what it is. This place, you know what? It's capitalism, man. You find what you love. You find
we want every fan. We want every fan to feel like they can come be the fan they want to be here with the C3 Panthers podcast, brass tacks.
Yeah, and I don't ever want anybody from me. I want people to tell me. I learn more about football and what's going on from the Panthers from the people that are in our chat and on Twitter and this than I ever learned from anybody. Sportsnut is like the number one. He's like my news fucking aggregator. Oh yeah, that's how I go. He's our Dove Kleiman. He is the Dove Kleiman.
Whenever I'm making the presentation for the show, I'm always looking. I'm always looking at his posts in the Discord and in the free for all chat. The dude's the man. And how about this? Anthony Picarello with another $2.
Look at
says,
this.
G baby knows what's up. Bryce the Truth Young. They've been on that Bryce bandwagon.
They're hitmen together.
Shout out to the boys, man. Shout out to the boys.
All right, 2 quick calls left.
Yeah, that was an awesome interview. I appreciate that, dude. That was fucking great.
Appreciate you, Al.
And it's still CJ, dude.
All right, nice. I like how this is like, I feel like some of this we just get swayed by what recency. So recency bias is a real thing in the NFL. More than anything is like, it's just, what have you done for me lately? And so I do think that this affects the numbers. If you're a CJ person, be a CJ person. If you're a young person, be a young person, and be a Panther person whenever we get the pick. Look, I don't know. First, it's kind of hard to get these interviews without being a beggar. You don't really have much to offer. People are always worried. They don't know anything about you. Are you trying to sandbag them? I even had this weird exchange where I was trying to message Cody and all the guys about like, hey, because I said, hey, here's my co-host. My last message to David Gettis in the DMs was, here's some of the things I was like, just thinking we could talk about. My name's Tony again. My co-host is Cody. And I sent you guys a screenshot, but I was concerned. I want Cody, CK, and Greg. I want us all. I appreciate all the time you give to the show and all that. I didn't want you to feel like, oh, I'm leaving you guys out because I didn't mention you to him. Right. And then so I was trying to message you guys saying, hey, I just didn't want him to feel like, hey, he's gonna come into a room and we're all just gonna be like,
right.
David Gettis, yeah, I was like, and I had read, so I accidentally sent the message that I was trying to send to you guys. I sent to him, and I was like, shit, did I just fuck all this up? And I was like, sorry, man. And it was a nice message too. It wasn't anything wrong with it. It was just like, I just didn't want to scare him off by like, tell them they're like all these people, and all this, like, do you need to know how the sausage is made all the time? And he's like, no problem. I tell you this, you don't ever know what you're going to get in these interviews. You don't know what kind of person. Dude, it's incredible.
That was great. That was like a fantastic interview. And to the point where like, I felt like any other person from his position would have been very quick to try to be like, all right, well, I've got to go, guys. So
yeah.
And he sat in there and talked to us, and it's not a prerequisite for a good interview to have somebody who's willing to sit there for an hour. But man, if he wasn't able to answer these questions and be honest about it and tell us,
he wasn't
cool
guarded.
Stories,
yeah, he wasn't guarded, and it's like I think once we prove to people we have no agenda, right? Other than to just celebrate. It's like it's not we're not trying to get a hot take from anybody. We're not trying to get insider information. This is just a show about us loving the Panthers, man. And that one right there, that's a top. This show and that interview just catapulted to a big moment in C3 history. And people, don't snub it. Don't sleep on that one. That was a good one. Last call of the night.
Great show tonight, guys. My question, if Bryce did not have the speed that he clearly has playing football, would the desire to have him as the Carolina Panther quarterback be on the same level as CJ? Since Bryce does have great speed in his plays, is that his saving grace?
Mental speed?
Keep pounding.
Is that processing speed?
Pounding.
That's got to be what they mean.
Is that processing speed? Because he's not crazy fast, right?
Wait, who? Stroud or
Young?
Well, I mean,
Young.
Well, no,
As a runner.
No. Listen, he's very fast from behind the pocket. I mean, super fast.
Well,
I mean, he's
you're
not.
adding caveats.
No. But listen, I'm saying
Is he fast on the field or not?
As a running threat, running down the field, he can pick up the yardage. But what she's talking about is his ability to be so quick and fast and nimble behind the line of scrimmage. That is absolutely one of his biggest selling points. And when you hear him compared to Drew Brees was never able to do that kind of stuff.
Right.
So,
and the people that were considered outliers are Drew Brees and Russell Wilson. But, those guys were never valued with these types of traits. Like they were, again, Drew Brees wasn't a late round pick, but Russell Wilson was much later.
Third.
Yeah, he much later than what people were realizing. And wasn't it that year? Was it Russell and Dak and Carson Wentz?
I think Dak was a few years after Russell Wilson, to be honest with you. I think Russell had already won like 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah, because Russell was playing us when we were playing Romo. Russell Wilson went from NC State. He was originally with NC State, and then he went to Washington. He had one of the best years as a quarterback. He threw like 5,000 yards, some crazy amount his senior year. I think this is what I almost feel like is they have set the tone for. It's almost like people like Russell Wilson made it so that Bryce Young could be a number 1 pick. Like 10 years ago, Bryce Young could never be a number 1 pick because of his size alone. People would have just eliminated him. They would have said 3rd round.
Right.
Russell, they didn't. They slept on him. People slept on Russell Wilson. He was good.
Well, no, I'm thinking about it wrong. It was Luck, RG3, and Russell Wilson.
Which I wanted to ask Gettis a little bit about RG3. Because here's the thing: is their offense stunk. When he was in Gettis was in college, like he did. But I mean, that was also RG3's rookie and sophomore year,
right?
Junior and senior year, and then he goes and wins the Heisman and had that incredible senior season. Interesting, RG3 is an interesting person in this mold.
RG3,
it's like you think of him in the Lamar Jackson, the Cam Newton story, all of this. It kind of fits into some of the things. Is RG3 should have been. It's just one injury away. It's kind of luck. It's kind of luck in its place. It's time and place and luck.
It's the size thing, man. To be truly honest with you, that's what I can equate it to. Is because RG3, and I'm sorry, I'm going to say it right now. What's the name? Kyler Murray has not been a great quarterback, and I don't think he's going to be a great quarterback going forward. Lamar Jackson, has had a really good year with this MVP year. Beyond that, he's been injured the entire time. Russell Wilson's fallen off the cliff now. I'm telling you, man, there is not a great record of short quarterbacks being good in the NFL for a long time.
I think, Greg, to agree with you in some ways, to talk about how it's not the anomaly. I think it's interesting that Kyler Murray isn't brought up more as an example of why Bryce Young could succeed. people, I know that they
Good.
don't have the same play style. But like, I think people have cooled on Kyler Murray. I don't think you hear his name involved like you hear Drew Brees and Russell Wilson because he's not the player yet that we thought he was. He's been good. He hasn't been fantastic. He's been pretty good. I'm just surprised that that's not like, hey, Kyler Murray can do it. But you know what? We have heard who is it that we have from the Arizona Cardinals come on a lot. And he said this: Kyler Murray has trouble throwing in the middle. He tends to throw the outsides because it's hard to see.
Yeah, and that's not something that Bryce struggles with. If you look at his heat map, where he tends to target, it's across the middle of the field, and it's all about positioning and moving just subtly. He's fantastic at those subtle movements, moving just enough to be able to see. And by the way, let's be real. When he comes to Carolina, Frank Reich is going to have him in shotgun and pistol most of the time because it's going to benefit someone his size playing a little bit further back from the line. That way he's not right up by the O-lineman having his view obstructed. But that's fine. Most of the NFL is like that anyway. If we draft Bryce, I am more than okay with him. And I'm also not worried about the RG3 comparison because RG3 was running around everywhere, man, taking shots, all kind of stuff. That's not going to be how Bryce Young plays football.
Yeah, that's not his game, and I think that does behoove him, right? Well, it's like his small stature is. If he was a running quarterback and that was like a dual threat, then you would be like, oh, that's not going to hold up. So anyway, go ahead, Greg, and then we'll get out.
My thing is we talked to Coach Gettis earlier, and he said that when he got to the NFL, a tight end was covering him, and he couldn't believe that was happening. The speed, right? So why do we not believe that while Bryce Young has been great in college and he's very short, that when he gets to the pros, that he's not going to face better defensive linemen because that are going to be more difficult to throw over than he was.
He played at Baylor.
Who?
David Gettis, right?
Yeah, no, he's talking. Greg is bringing up this. He's saying that because of John Beeson.
What I'm saying is, if what he played was a better level, then why wouldn't Bryce Young's be better?
Right, because he played at Baylor,
which they still play good teams.
Right, but they don't play Alabama teams.
NFL players drafted out of those teams.
They don't play Alabama teams.
He was pretty emphatic
but Bryce Young
he plays in the best conference.
Bryce Young played with Alabama teams. He didn't play against Alabama teams.
You misunderstand what I'm saying. Yeah. He's playing against Alabama caliber teams. Yeah. Right. He's playing against Alabama
caliber team.
Right. But my point is that he is playing against the one of the, if not the best college division in the entire college, landscape
with the best players.
And by the way,
he's arguably the worst Alabama team in the past 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, and to make another argument on top of that, though, Bryce Young last season played Georgia twice, and they beat him in the SEC championship the first time. And people say that Georgia's defense last year was even better than it was this year, and he threw for almost 400-something yards. And they had Jordan Davis, the big 6'6", 345-pound guy. Like, they have big, strong players all throughout the SEC. And if you only play college, there's no other way you're going to prove yourself than playing in college. And SEC is the proving ground.
I agree with Greg and not agree. It's not agree or disagree. What he's saying is this is like, let's not act like Alabama isn't a talented team. Right. So that talent behooves Bryce Young. The people who say this
and
is like
the best coaches.
Yeah, the Bryce Young has found a way to thrive, and he's always been the smallest. This isn't a new rodeo for him. So it's just like he's always thrived. If he can thrive in the NFL, it's going to be incredible. It's going to be great.
Can I use that as an example?
Yeah.
Alabama, largely considered the best football program in the entire college landscape, chose Bryce Young as their quarterback.
Fair point.
Yeah. And to go even further, Tony, Like a player like Trevor Lawrence, if you go back to his high school days, all he did was win football games.
Yeah, you're right.
But guess what? Bryce Young
has always been a winner.
Not only was that all he was doing, but at modern day high school in California, look up the talent that has come from that high school. They are routinely the best high school college football team in all the nation. And Bryce Young was setting records over there too, man.
What do his parents do? And the reason I asked this,
his dad's a psychologist.
Yeah.
But he had I felt like he had personal coaches when he was in 6th grade, dude.
He might have.
It's a different era than when I came up, bro. Yeah. It was like you bought your baseball glove at Kmart. Not everybody had a bat bag when they're now they got personal coaches in the 6th grade. You got little mini me over there. And you're like, you know what? We're going to get you these. Bill O'Brien, come on. Coach my kid to the NFL. It's amazing they invested in it. All right. Those are the cat calls. That's the C3 Panthers podcast. The only thing in the news that we're going to talk about or mention, or two things just real quick, is this is Russell Okung. He pulled off a Jordan Gross.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, lost a ton of weight.
Look at this. You know, I feel embarrassed. It feels like this, and maybe it's just the angle, or the angle, the profile pic. It almost feels like it's like a picture of man's evolution somewhere. I don't know why. I just think of that like it should be on a chart.
Because all of those are side profiles.
Yeah, exactly. He's young. I mean, he's skinny. How about this? His knees will thank him.
Yeah.
And listen, it's not it's not healthy being
obese.
A lot obese? Of the weight that these guys are. There's it's not a surprise that they all shed 100 pounds when they're done playing football. Yeah,
you have to.
Yeah,
dude.
you have to.
YouTube got the ticket. What are these prices? Tell us about these prices. Does anybody know how this relates to the old prices? Because the ticket's always been fucking expensive. So let us know.
The old prices were $300 for regular and $350 for red zone. So this isn't a substantial increase for the benefit of not having to deal with DirecTV.
Yeah. But not if you buy it before June 6th, though. And you have to have YouTube TV as well.
Yeah, I think I think the YouTube TV is the purchase before June 6th. You get it for the $249 and $289. Early for $349 and $389 for non-YouTube TV subscribers. So essentially, buy it before June 6th.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I thought that the ticket was even more than what you said with the 300.
Well, they do break it up over typically the entirety of the season, so you're not spending all that money in one go. So I would be interested to see how YouTube is going to manage to do that. I don't think they're going to have that same benefit because DirecTV is going to be able to throw this whole collections process into their at you if you don't pay it. Like if you were to just cancel the payment method you were using. So I don't know how YouTube is going to do it, but I'm guessing you're going to pay the whole thing up front.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, probably so. Well, listen, man, we're almost at 4 hours on this thing, man.
Cody's ready to go.
No, I'm just saying we have 128 people at almost 1 o'clock in the fucking morning, bro. You think we don't have good fans? Shit, and we're still not done, baby. We got one more segment left to do. Our homage to Steve Smith, Tony Dunn. It's time to ice some fools up, brother.
Ice up, son. Ice up.
It's the longest running segment on the longest running Panthers podcast. And when I say the longest running Panthers podcast, not only are we going into our 11th season where we haven't missed a week and have only expanded our coverage day by day, inch by inch, but when I say we're the longest running, I challenge you to find another podcast that goes 4 hours on the reg. 3 hours on the reg. Come on, folks, man. We living with y'all. Y'all the best. This is our homage to Steve Smith. This is the first segment I ever introduced, I think. Maybe I tried one other and it didn't last. I did Breaking Down the Box. Tried that one. The Ice Up Sun pick, thank you, goes all the way back to 2013. Remember that? 2013 is when the Ice Up segment was born. Yes, this is a 10-year segment right here where we tell someone to ice up, toughen up, to get it together. Guys, I'm going to go real quick with a couple of my fun ones. One is hold on, let me get this Instagram pop in right here. This right here, this trip me out. Dude, look at that knee. Look at this knee.
Knee?
They cut it off. Oh, that knee goes straight into the concrete. Watch, this thing's gonna be shredded. Knee. Shredded. And then the other one, hold on. I didn't have it queued up. Does anybody got theirs real quick? So I pull this up too.
No, just play that video until you find it.
Right. I was just saying, I can watch that little
I know.
Okay.
Good looking, but took it to the head.
So look, last week I played a video of an unfortunate cop who was stuck upside down. And that man had an inconvenient stain on the back of his underwear. Well, there's a trend going on as people if you blink, you miss it.
Oh, and then he put it on the internet still.
I think that's the trend, right?
It better be live. Or you think they did this by design?
It's a trend. Yeah, they're doing it.
Yeah, they're doing it on purpose.
I wouldn't be surprised if the officer did it on purpose.
Doesn't that ruin everything?
So, but I know, you know what I know wasn't on purpose. So Jaden McDaniels is a basketball player. He was coming off the court, and my man got mad at something. And he was going to the locker room, and he punched a concrete wall.
Broke his hand.
Hurt his hand.
Oh, yeah.
And he was out for the rest of the game, dude. So
Well, it's the last game of the season, but yeah.
Yeah, broke his hand.
Yeah.
It was literally concrete behind that. Yep. So buy ice up. Make sure that you have clean underwear at all times. And control your anger, man, because you don't want to break your hand punching a concrete wall. Hey, by the way, they're for sure going to grab us for playing Fox stuff.
Not for this short, will they?
Yeah,
Probably.
I guarantee they
Probably
will.
they will, yeah.
All I want is this beginning segment of that. Who is that guy with the hat on? Who is Travis
with the hat on? I don't know.
The country
Travis
Tritt or something. Poor Travis Tritt. Man, he's just trying to suck it out. He's like, I don't like to wish for people bad, but I hope Bud Light goes bankrupt. It was just like, I was like, Tucker. It's just like, it's just so sticky at this. It just was such a stick that like, we can't look at y'all seriously. Just simply can't look at you seriously ever.
Yeah.
Because even the guest was like, man, I'm not getting baited in this shit. And I agree with you. Anyway, ice up to people, is that like they would imagine if we took that attitude on this show, people would come after us, be like, oh, you just hot taking it. You're just fucking, that's all they do. They just, they're leaning
One
in.
guy says it's John
But it's
Rich.
different on this show. We're
John
not trying
Rich.
to spell anything to anybody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You're right.
So I mean, it's a little different.
CK, you got one?
I'll let Greg go because I think we might have a similar one.
Well, mine just ties into that one right there slightly, and it's just going to be real quick. It's look, I'm not going to give my views on the Anheuser-Busch thing and the Bud Light thing. I don't drink Bud Light, and I don't plan on drinking Bud Light in the future. But I will say I'm going to ice up all the people that are thinking they're taking a stand by stopping drinking Bud Light, because Anheuser-Busch makes a lot of beer.
Yeah, actually, they're owned by InBev too, so it's like a conglomerate. It's a world conglomerate. So you're like, fuck Anheuser-Busch. I'm gonna drink Stella, and you're
But I
like,
can
they
almost
own that
guarantee
one
you're
too,
going to be paying Bud
motherfucker.
Light or paying Anheuser-Busch. So I would say study before that. I drink craft beers that are all local breweries, so I contribute to that. But
and who gives a fuck, man? Y'all
honestly,
drink Bud Light. Y'all are
honestly,
already the.
Yeah, it's.
Hey
not
man,
that
I drink
bad.
Heineken I drink Heineken.
I was
like
about
a
to make
real
a.
man.
I was about to make a
I don't
gender
even wa-
joke right
I don't
there.
even want to get into this shit fucking at almost 1 o'clock at night, dude. CK,
Well,
go-
drink a Mick Ultra.
Yeah. CK, go ahead, and man, do your ice up.
By the way, the idea that people not drinking the beer isn't hurting them is unequivocally false.
Oh, that's true. It's
Budweiser
definitely
is
hurting them.
hemorrhaging at
Yeah,
this point in
definitely.
time. Right
I
now,
do
$1 billion.
think you're right about that. Yeah.
But so my ice up is to the woman who made the decision that they were going to go with transgender ideology to try to increase the sales of Budweiser. I'm telling you, the people that you're trying to
Know
appeal
your
to
base. Know
have
your base.
no interest in Budweiser. No interest. They're over there drinking White Claws and artisan beers, right?
Right.
That's what they're drinking.
Yeah.
Or martinis, whatever it is. They're not drinking Bud Light, Budweiser, any of that. So the fact that they've decided that was the route, her explanation, this is where the ice up comes in. The person who is the head of their marketing division, her explanation was when we took over Budweiser's brand, it was dying. And if we didn't do something, there would be no more Budweiser in 2 or 3 years.
Great job, huh?
Right.
Now there's not going to be.
So what she's done is she's done something that was such a polarizing thing that it's supposed to all of a sudden pull people in from an activist standpoint to now all of a sudden they're going to have an influx of these young people drinking their beer. They're not.
No.
It
These
doesn't
issues appeal to nobody too. The smallest margins of society.
Exactly. It's the loudest margin of the society. But if you ask the majority of the people in chat, you ask people on this panel, the amount of people who care, who look at the circumstances or that entire movement and take it as just extremists is probably the majority of us. And so if you're going to invest into that, I can tell you there are going to be people who say, I'm not drinking that anymore. And I'll tell you this from my own experience. I know a Budweiser rep here, and they are like not going to be able to pay their bills this month because Budweiser
it hurts the local salespeople. It does. All right. Nice up to you. You're right. That's a good ice up pick. I guess mine, and just to pivot on that, I know, Cody, you don't want us to talk about it. It's like, can we take the politics out of things that aren't political?
No.
Right? It's like, and that's what I'm saying is I just want my beer. I don't give a fuck what the CEO of the company's political. I don't care what the CEO's political views are. It's kind of like when people are like, "Oh, Chick-fil-A doesn't like." I just want a chicken sandwich, dude.
Right.
Like, I mean, if I want to argue about politics, like, take the politics out of my beer.
To a certain extent, Tony, you're right. To a certain extent,
just don't give a fuck. I just want to drink a beer.
There is a line you have to draw, and if you just ignore that all the time, then guess what happens?
But it's not their company's job to social fucking warrior for us.
No,
and you know what? You might as well just be Tom's. You know what? They might as well do this is for every beer you buy, we give $1 to some starving kid and whatever. It's all fucking fake. Like, just, we know it's capitalistic. We know you just want our fucking money. Like, and I want your product. I don't give a fuck about what your political views are. I just want to eat a chicken sandwich. And I'm not chastising Chick-fil-A for closing on Sunday. What I'm saying is I don't give a fuck what their politics are. Sandwich tastes good. The beer sucks. You know what? You shouldn't be drinking Bud Light because it fucking sucks. Miller Lite is a far superior light beer.
Coors better.
It's only
or PBR.
Miller Lite only 1 calorie more than the Mick Ultra.
The difference on the Chick-fil-A front is they're doing that in spite of money. Budweiser did this in an effort to try to get more money.
And they lost like a bunch
and they're
of
losing money, right?
Dumbasses.
So there's a tremendous difference. So
Yeah, I'm not saying they're the same thing. I just don't care about their politics. All I want is I don't go to Food Line and go, oh, what the fuck does Food Line got to say about boo boo boo? I'm just like, man, I just want to fucking, I just trying to buy groceries, motherfucker.
They want a beer. They don't care about your politics, man.
Make
You're just
your
pissing
beer
people
commercials
off.
funny. How about that? Go back to being a funny commercial. We drink
Absolutely.
beer
All
for
points
levity.
Tony,
we
this
all are
all-
alcoholics because we don't want to talk about this shit.
Tony, this all points into why you want free state and less government involved in your decision.
Yeah.
You want to be able to have a free thought and not
Yeah.
think politics in everything you think.
Yeah.
Just let everybody know that.
Yeah, I
That's what a
know.
free
Well,
state is.
that was
So-
a company decision
Yeah.
on that.
I know,
one, so.
I know,
Capitalism
dumb,
right there
but
is
dumb,
not involving
is
government.
dummy.
Yeah.
But they don't need to dip their toe into that water. This is the C3 Panthers podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. Sometimes we land really good interviews that make the show go all the way till 1 a.m. But guess what? I don't care if you got to go to bed, Cody. I stayed up all night working on the out, working. I was like this. I was like, what? When CK messaged me and said, "What are you doing?" I was like, "You're right."
Like
What
2
the
hours
fuck?
after you sent it to us, dude. Like
Yeah.
when normal people wake up and go to work.
Yeah, I know. It was
Yeah.
stupid. I was stupid. I was in a zone. I was feeling it. I was having fun. I like getting these creative moments. I just start writing. Anyway, guess what? 114 people still with us. So fuck off, Cody, and your sleepy head. Man, this has been fantastic, and it's been fantastic.
Says I'm trying to sleep.
I know. No, I'm just giving you shit, man. I love you more than anybody.
Love you too, brother.
Watched your Embrace the Debate. Was in those comments. Take that, debate my take, mug. Let's get after it. Convince me to care. Whatever you need to do. Tell them where they can get after you, Cody.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Cody Lack, CODYLAC. All my written content on drafttech.com. I put in a lot of work over there. I'm doing comments for 3 rounds of Panthers draft picks this year at drafttech.com. Check that out. And hey, in case you didn't know, I'm on a brand new podcast, y'all. Me, my internet sparring partner Monty Fetty, and Desmond Johnson from the Believe in Panthers podcast with Jonathan Stewart. We have come together and we have made a new podcast, Embrace Debate Carolina Panthers. It's a fun new thing I'm a part of, and it goes up live on this channel as well. Because, StreamYard will let you broadcast that stuff everywhere, man. So Tobacco Sports Road and right here on the C3 Panthers podcast. That's every Monday morning at 10:30 a.m. Come and hang out with us.
Greg, how can they find you?
Man, you can find me at the BatDaddy52 on Twitter is my personal handle. Check out my other show, Geeks Chasing Squirrels Across the Multiverse. We go live at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. And then also
on Fridays.
put out there
On
Fridays. Yes, sorry. On Fridays. And I want to put out there that on Mondays, starting next week, we're going to be doing the I don't know if it's the name yet, the 5-on-5, but we're going to be talking about the NBA playoffs. The Lakers just won, locked up the 7th seed.
Are they going to be the first play-in team to ever win?
They may be. They very well may be, because they're playing pretty well right now. But we're going to be in the NBA playoffs. Yeah, for the next, I don't know, 2 months.
Yeah.
So at least on Monday nights for the next 2 months, check us out. Yeah. It'll be on Geeks Chasing Squirrels YouTube feed. So come check us out. Good time.
Right on, CK.
You can find me on Twitter at CodeDizzleAllen, and obviously here on Tuesday nights and sometimes on Friday with the Friday Free for All. So, and obviously the draft show.
Yes, perfecto. Smash the thumbs up button, subscribe, check us out, Spotify, iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher. Go to CarolinaCatChronicles.com. Let us know that you like hanging out and chatting. Support is the best way to do it. We appreciate any donation, but your time is worth any is so much more. We value it, appreciate it. Cody Lack, let's get out of here.
C3 Panther Nation, until next time, keep pounding.